internet issues?
It was good till just now.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, well, you ready to get started? What could possibly go wrong?
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and look, it's my son Jayson.
It is me.
And Connor Nielsen.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going, guys? Tonight, we're going to tell you how we felt about Marvel's The Marvels, otherwise known as the live-action Powerpuff Girls movie, and we're gonna go ahead and just jump right the heck into it, guys. Thanks for watching live. Thanks for being here. If you're doing that, if you, I guess I'll just do this spiel real quick. If you want to help direct the conversation this evening, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount. That'll guarantee that we talk about whatever aspect of the movie you want us to talk about. We will hit the every nook and cranny that we can think of. But when we get to the spoiler section, and we can be even more spoilery if you want us to, but we'll hit more stuff if you are so inclined to help refresh our memories, jog our memories, and you can leave regular comments with those things as well. Please don't leave comments with full-on spoilers until we get to that section, though. We're going to open, I mean, this movie is not doing well at the box office, so I don't know how much people will even care about having this movie spoiled, or how many people will be here listening to us, or even after the fact, that don't already know everything that happens in this movie. But that's always the rules with these. It's basically a old school how we felt about it and a spoiler cast simultaneously. So we open with sign flip. Here's the synopsis. Here's our best thing, worst thing, and whether we liked it or not. And then we'll get into a little bit of spoilers, what the ins and outs of the film. Okay, so what is this? Marvel's like 33rd movie now that nobody is watching. I think because it's predicated way too much on Disney Plus stuff, and even though Captain Marvel made $1 billion, nobody really remembers it or cares that much about that character anymore. That's my thinking. So, like, I'm not remotely shocked that people aren't seeing this movie. I am, Connor, a little bit... I'm not Connor, I'm Captain Logan. I am, Connor, though, a little bit surprised that it's doing just as bad as it is. What was it, an 87% drop second weekend? We've never seen that. That was bigger than BVS's drop.
Right now it's saying 78, but that's based on estimates, so we'll see tomorrow afternoon.
It's
what the actual
still a lot, regardless.
It's huge. It is way bigger than BVS, yeah.
It's nuts. Daniver says it's being hurt by the reception of the previous films. Yeah, I think there's that, and I think there's... Okay, here's another thing. Let me throw this out there real quick. Connor, do you agree with this? I think there was so much goodwill with Marvel going back to at least Endgame, of course, and just after, that even the more mediocre films were getting much higher overall ratings like Rotten Tomatoes scores and such than the same films probably would have if they were in a brand new series. Like
I
in
absolutely agree with that.
Do you agree with that? Well, I think what we're seeing now is the flip of that, where there's and I think we're going to see it even more moving forward, where there's been enough backlash lately with all this talk about superhero fatigue, and that the Disney Plus shows haven't been well received. Quantumania people didn't like. Guardians was a mulligan. I keep saying that because yes, that people liked that film, but it was James Gunn's swan song, and he's leaving the whole thing, and of course that was of a better quality than a lot of these things have been lately. You and I liked Doctor Strange 2 okay, but a lot of people hated that movie, and so now we're having this kind of, like, I want to say like Pixar effect, where same thing, right? Like early days of Pixar, I like whether the movie was relatively kind of mediocre to a lot of those or not, there was so much goodwill with them that there was a little bit of a blind eye maybe that would happen to the not as good ones. And then as time went on and you had too many in a row, a mediocre, not great Pixar movie looked horrible to people compared to their earliest outings. So people are not going to be comparing this movie so much to Quantumania. They're going to keep comparing it back to Marvel Phase 1, 2, 3. And be like, look, Marvel's just not on top of its game, and it's not. Don't get me wrong, like, it's not what it was. But I think we are maybe gonna start seeing more of like the flip of that, where it's like now the tides have turned, and people are gonna be much harsher on them than they used to be.
I think so too, yeah, because I think Pixar is actually a really good comparison. Like, I think Pixar, they could shore up a Cars 2 in 2011. You have enough people, like you said, having goodwill, and then in the case of Marvel, like, they had enough goodwill to really survive a Thor: The Dark World, but also have Thor: The Dark World be a major part of Avengers Endgame, and people still like that movie. And so yeah, no, that's actually a good comparison. Now it's like, I think more people disliked something like Lightyear, I think probably more than they would have otherwise, because there was kind of a pattern of people liking Pixar less.
Absolutely, yeah. And with some of that stuff, I think that there's a little bit of piling on that happens, where people like, if that's the right way to put it, where people love an underdog, but they love to tear down a hero, right? That whole thing. Lightyear sucks, by the way. Like,
it's okay.
I don't agree with that. That was a massive disappointment. Even when I went in thinking there was a likelihood I wasn't going to like it, that thing I thought was really rough. So I don't know. When I say piling on, I mean that's not to say that that's a good movie. Jayson, would you tell us a little bit about what happens in Marvel's The Marvels, starring Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and the marvelous Monica Rambeau?
Yeah, so this has those three characters in it.
It sure does.
The main characters as the Marvels.
Mm-hmm. A trifecta of Marvels.
You've got this bad guy woman who I can't remember her name. She sounds like Darman. I don't know.
I never knew her name.
I don't know what they're saying. It starts with Dar. I don't know.
Let's just call her Miss Not Ronan.
Yeah.
You wanna go with that? She's Miss Not Ronan.
Miss Not Ronan.
Yeah.
And she is...
She Ronan?
She Ronan. I like that.
Ronan.
That's good.
So She Ronan.
Yeah.
She has, she finds one of the two, handcuffs on a planet, and she's like, "Oh, where's the other one?" And
that's the perfect way to. Yeah, they're called. They're officially called quantum bands.
Quantum.
But
bands.
I love handcuffs. I love quantum handcuffs.
So
because look, I gotta say this because the quantum entanglement thing is, like, I was gonna say this earlier, is the universe handcuffing the three women together.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. They're handcuffs.
So basically, Miss Marvel has the other quantum handcuff. I don't know why I didn't see Miss Marvel. I don't know.
You got
what's
enough
going
of an
on
explanation
there.
in the movie, though. Her grandmother gave it to her in the
Oh,
mail.
is that actually?
Yeah, that's what happens.
Oh, I thought she was being sarcastic.
Yeah, it's like a family heirloom, and it turns out to be a cosmic artifact.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought she was just being, like, lying. I don't know. But this has this like quantum. There's this like quantum entanglement thing. I can't remember why. I wasn't.
Because
paying
they all
attention.
have light power. Something. They all have light powers.
Yeah, because so
And it connects them
whenever-
all together. It's a conceit. It's not important.
whenever whenever they use their powers, they get switched with another one of them. It's not really clear who. They just get switched with another one of them.
So it's when they each use their powers simultaneously. If two of them use their powers at exactly the same time, they switch places in space.
Oh, is it when they both?
Yes.
Oh, I thought
But
it was
if-
just when one.
That's why they had to time it. Remember they've got that
yeah.
they've got that montage where they're training and they time it. That's why. Now, if all three of them do it at the same time, I don't know what trumps like which one gets the preference.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry.
But basically, they're all switching. They've got the thing where whenever they use their powers, they have to switch places, and they're trying to figure it out. And they're like, "What the heck is going on?" And then they've also got to stop this she Ronin woman, Dar Ronin's person that is using the cosmic handcuffs. One of them.
Yeah,
to,
she's
like,
got to get the all powerful MacGuffin thing.
destroy the world, I guess, or something. I don't know what is her plan.
Well, it's about the Kree Skrull war.
Oh, yeah,
She's
'cause
trying to save her
of the war.
people, but it's also a revenge thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Magneto, right? Like,
Well, is she
wants to
trying
save her
to
people,
just-
but what she really wants is revenge.
Yeah, is she trying
And
to
she
like,
wants revenge on Captain Marvel.
kill Captain Marvel, or is she trying to take over Earth or something?
Well, she doesn't care about Earth.
Well, yeah, I guess she doesn't
want-
care about Earth.
Yeah, she wants a lot of power because she's trying to save her people, but I think she's also just kind of power mad at that point. Not the most fleshed out villain.
Yeah, but yeah, basically,
Certainly.
they're switching powers and they got to figure out how to not do that. So
And then they got come together as a team because they're cosmically handcuffed
Yeah.
together to be a team.
Yes.
Yeah, and Nick Fury is there.
Oh yeah, Nick Fury is there.
Yeah, and he's being a diplomat because he seems like exactly the right person to be a diplomat. He's being like Captain Picard basically in trying to facilitate peace talks between the Skrulls and the Kree, which we don't get to see him do any of, which was disappointing because he was like especially crotchety this movie, and I wanted to see him start swearing at Skrulls. I really wanted some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's pretty much what.
that was a good synopsis.
Yeah, that's
Plot. Who should start with this?
You
one?
should start. I want you to start.
Do you
I
really?
think you should start. Either you or Connor.
Connor,
Well, I mean, I can
do
start.
you want to? You know, there's some rock paper scissors in this movie. Do you want to rock paper scissors it out, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully we don't have too much of a lag, you know. But you know, if we wind up on the same thing at the same time, I'm afraid we might switch places, and I'll be next to that fireplace.
Oh, okay. Well, take good care of my dogs. All right.
Okay. Now,
need to
are
be
we?
fed.
Now, are we doing it on 3, or do we say now after 3?
Let's do it on 3. all right?
On 3, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you remember jokes
1,
from the movie.
2, 3.
All right, both the
What?
scissors.
Oh, we
All
both
right,
did scissors. Okay, do it again. This is so weird across states. 1, 2, 3.
All right, I did rock.
And I did paper.
Okay,
you get to go
you're
first.
up. You're up.
Does that mean I go first, or does that mean I get to decide if I don't want to go first?
Ooh, you get to decide what you want to do. You want to
Oh.
go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go.
It's your show anyway.
It is my show. I'll go
It's your
first.
show, and you can go if you want to. All right. Yeah.
Guys, I want to do mine real briefly, and then do a lot more discussion after you guys go. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good.
So, and I haven't really thought through my best thing and worst thing. I gotta figure that out. Okay. All right. Are you ready? I'm gonna do my sign flip before I say anything else. Yeah, I kind of dug it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's middle of the road. It's pretty mediocre, but I had a good time with this one, and I feel like I need to wear like the cone of shame, because I know that I'm in the minority and that people are gonna think I'm crazy with this. Connor, I went a second time today just to be sure, because I was shocked that I actually kind of had a good time with this movie. And I don't know how easy it's going to be to articulate it. It's one of those things, right, where it's just subjective, and you had fun with it, and you're trying to then like walk it back. Don't get me wrong, man. I mean, I'm gonna be critical. I got lots of issues, but I kind of enjoyed it. Somebody I saw in the community tab earlier when I announced this say that that it's not like it was kind of fun, light and fluffy, but it's like it was fine, but not what Marvel needs right now. That's exactly right. Like and you can tell like nobody cares, nobody's going to see it. I feel like Marvel deserves that. For a lot of their like lack of business acumen lately, a lot of the choices they've been using in battle strategy, I don't think the movie deserves it. I think the movie is okay. Like I said, I think it's real middle of the road. It's inconsequential, and that's a mistake this year. Especially after Quantumania, and then Guardians being kind of a big deal ender movie. It watches, I'm sure, not great right after Guardians because it's so low rent Guardians, but it does that much better than the Thor movies did. I feel like this is what both Ragnarok and Love and Thunder think they are. There's an effort here. It's trying. It's not trying to be anything more than what it is. It's like the guy said, whoever it was, it's light and fluffy. The biggest thing I was surprised by is that because I walked in really worried about the runtime. I was like, hour and 45 minutes with a Marvel movie. They left a ton on the cutting room floor, and that things didn't work out, or that they just didn't have any ideas and have much of a plan, and they just threw something together. I figured it wasn't really going to hold together. It gets in and it gets out, and it trucks at kind of a pace. The best thing is the dynamic between the triad here. I thought all three of these ladies were really good together. I really did, and it's maybe a little more than a little light on characterization, certainly. But you know what it has? A character arc for Captain Marvel. You know what her movie had? Not a character arc for Captain Marvel. You know what she has in this? Like a degree of pathos. That was nice. And maybe you have to come from a certain background to appreciate this too. Like this is something of a taste thing, where this isn't going to be for everybody. I felt like I was weirdly in the right camp for some of this movie. When I say it's a live-action Powerpuff Girls movie, that is something of a compliment. I'm also making fun of it when I say that, because it's hilarious. But it kind of works. I like that I'm jumping around. I like that you've got a team that with the three girls here that don't all immediately hate each other, and then they have to learn to like each other at all. There's some real camaraderie from the very beginning, and the friction that you've got with Captain Marvel and Rambeau is understandable, and I didn't think it was going to be. And then I was like, nah, I get why she's upset. Now don't get me wrong, I don't understand the timeline at all. I don't get when, we'll get to spoilers later, I don't get when exactly Captain Marvel did the horrible thing that made her be too hard on herself and never go home, because it feels like it was last Thursday, but the story needs it to have been like 10 years ago, or even 15 or 20 years ago. So anyway, I'm a little lost on some of that stuff, but I liked the three of them together. I thought Brie Larson was surprisingly good, and I thought that retroactively it gave her an actual reason to be a little angsty and standoffish in Endgame, assuming that actually happened pre-Endgame. I can't tell, but it must have, it would have absolutely have had to. The worst thing is there's some bizarre choices with comedy, and I laughed a lot more than I expected to, actually. I really did. There's some stuff I thought was really fun in this. I cannot deal with, well, spoilers. I'll just be a little bit cryptic. The thing with the cat and the thing with the music is really awkward. Both of them really awkward. We'll get to that stuff later. It wasn't as good on a second viewing, but I still liked it enough to go green. And I know everybody's going to think that I'm absolutely nuts, and I don't know. I guess I'll have to defend myself later, probably. But I don't know how well I'll be able to do that. A lot of it was just kind of taste. Sorry, I said, I said, like, maybe you have to come from a particular place. In a weird way, this is a Star Trek episode. That was a lot of what I was latching onto. The building the plot around the jump points was very much like Star Trek stories where we've screwed up things with warp drive. And the big mistake that... And she makes mistakes now! That's nice! The big mistake that Captain Marvel makes before the movie starts is like there being actual repercussions for Captain Kirk killing the evil computer on a planet and then just leaving and never checking back on it. And I really appreciated that. But anyway, yeah, I'm green. Deal with it. Anyway, let's hear from... Do you want to go next, or should we go to Connor and then go to you? Because I don't actually know what Jayson thinks yet. I took him because I wanted to know if I was nuts. And then he decided he wanted to be on the show, and then I went, okay, don't tell me yet. So I don't actually know if he enjoyed it at all.
Yeah, let's do me. Why not?
Is that okay, Connor? Okay. I said I wasn't going to go too long, and then I got flustered, and then I just kept talking because that's what I do. I'm a little bit embarrassed about this, honestly. I want to like curl up in a ball because I know that
Hey.
I know my opinion is not allowed, but it's just how I felt about it, which is the show. Sorry, Connor, go ahead.
I mean, it's your channel, man. You can. I mean, I like Wonder Woman 1984. That's not a good movie. So
I don't know if this is a good movie, but I liked it. I don't know.
So
hey, I know I know how you're feeling. I know how you're feeling.
I see. On first viewing, I thought maybe it was I just came off She-Hulk. But then I saw it again, and I'm still flipping it green, which is the color of She-Hulk. Go ahead.
So we're not talking about She-Hulk.
This is the color of Thunderbolt Ross. This is the color of Hulk. Sorry, good.
We're not talking about She-Hulk.
Oh, that's
We're talking
true.
about She-Ronin.
That's true.
Okay. So I even at this point, I don't know if my sign is green or red, so I'm gonna do best thing, worst thing first.
Oh wow, you haven't even decided on your flip.
No.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say best thing is probably fight scenes. I really liked choreography, and there was a little bit more of it than I think there should have been. I think there should have been a little more, like, I don't know.
I hated that entanglement premise initially.
Yeah.
They had fun with it.
They had fun with it. They did it, I think, pretty well. And also, the fight scenes look good. They're followable. They're not, they don't look terrible. And I don't think this movie looks terrible.
I don't either. I thought the effects were adequate, and it doesn't justify a $220 million budget. I think it could have looked the same with 100.
Yeah.
270 million.
Yeah, no, that's nuts.
Really?
That's absolutely
Wow.
insane. But they didn't need to throw that much money at it for it to be what it is. And you know what that was, Connor. Besides, they just always throw too much money. I mean the MCU is the federal government, okay? Let's just be real. But, Feige is buying toilet seats for no reason. Like, that's what's happening. But, you know what they did? They made a movie, and then they scrapped it, and then they made another movie. They keep doing that. I mean, they did that with Quantumania, too.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but they'll, and you can tell they're about to start changing this because they're going to have to. But what Feige likes to do is he likes to let somebody make a movie and then see a cut of it, and then, like, every one of these has planned reshoots. And then go back and reshoot stuff. You know what you could do? You could turn him in a script, and then he could read it and be like, change these things. But no, he wants to see the whole movie made first. That's what he does.
That's great. So
Anyway, sorry.
Worst thing, I'm gonna say, this story is a, I mean, not even a 2-part episode. This is a one-off episodic thing from a TV show.
Not compared to Ant-Man and the Wasp.
The first Ant-Man and the Wasp?
No, the second one.
Wasp? Okay.
Sorry, the first Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yes.
Okay.
Not Quantum.
Okay. I've seen that in a while, so.
Yeah.
But, I mean, body switching? I mean...
At least it wasn't mind switching. At least they didn't do that.
True. And then...
And it wasn't the whole movie. I mean, I thought they were going to keep switching places for 2 acts and come together as a team in the 3rd act. They didn't do that.
Yeah, I am very glad they didn't do that.
And they turned it into a new useful superpower they could use. That was cool.
Yeah, and we'll talk about all this, but there are some things with the plot that are just like... I have some problems with it. Some stuff just, they didn't think it through enough. The villain is lame.
Agreed.
Like, very lame.
Her motivation is okay.
Much to do.
She's just kind of nothing, and the actress, I hate to say, is just there. I don't know.
Yeah. And...
I'm sorry. We need to use her registered trademark name. She-Ronin.
And, I mean, there are definitely things I liked about the plot. Overall, it didn't make much sense and wasn't that great. So that's gonna be my worst thing. I'm going to say though, I'm going off of what I saw.
Hey, there's no peer pressure here, man.
Instead of
in fact, I'll feel better if you turn it red.
No. I'm going off of what I saw instead of what I thought after, because thinking about it too much is gonna hurt my brain. So I'm going to flip green, but like, man, it's. But I would watch this again. I would.
Watch Connor eviscerate us. He doesn't even want to work with us anymore. He's never coming back.
Oh, no, you guys are great. And this is awesome because you guys liked it, and one of you even saw it multiple times, because I have questions. There are things...
I also have questions.
Me too.
Okay. So,
we'll see if I can answer any of yours, but... say again?
I hated this movie. I would call this Content the movie, and I would say that if we did the old, like, how we felt about, like, science, I would say I now know what the child of Fant Forstick and the theatrical cut of Justice League would look like. It would look like this. There are scenes that are missing. I think that as the concept, I was actually kind of like you guys, where the body swapping premise was like, I'm not sold on that. Like, as a premise for like a movie, what, huh? But when the movie started, I was like, oh, like, this is actually like a kind of gimmick that someone like Christopher Nolan or like an Edgar Wright builds their movies around, and you can get some pretty creative, fun action scenes out of this. And what these action scenes potentially have is to be extremely impressively edited. Maybe even some of like the best editing you could do in a superhero movie. And then they all just collapse instantly. I think that the worst thing about this movie, though, is I thought this was the worst possible sequel to Captain Marvel I could have imagined. I think the first Captain Marvel movie is adequate. I think it's like a solid kind of middle of the road, on par kind of movie. But after that, a lot of the things I've always heard people say about the Captain Marvel character, that she's too emotionally distant, she just kind of broods, she's not interesting. I always kind of felt like the distance that we've kind of been experiencing her character from was deliberate. And I watched this movie, and I guess not. It seems like Brie Larson is lost to me. It seems like in one scene she's stern, in one scene she's goofy and wacky, another scene she's like a diplomat, another scene she's like doing something else. Like, I got no sense of coherence from who this character is, and I was kind of hoping to finally get into her head, and it feels like everyone was right the entire time. I was a fool for thinking that there was something more going on with Captain Marvel. Because this is a sequel to Captain Marvel. That's what they made. Like, you don't really need to have seen WandaVision. You don't need to have seen Ms. Marvel.
No, and I like that about it.
And yeah, that's probably the smartest thing they could have done.
They didn't advertise it right, because you have no sense of that. Like, they advertised it like, oh, you guys all watch these shows, right? I mean, that was a huge mistake.
Yeah. So I can say the best thing about this is there's a part where Ms. Marvel says, "Why is it so hard to draw hands?" That was relatable. So that's the best thing about the movie. The worst thing about this movie is, I don't even know. This felt like the worst thing about this movie is that it feels like, and I don't want to just like hate this movie just to like hate. I don't enjoy hating any movie except for Spider-Man No Way Home, because that movie's awful. But the thing is, they made a worse movie than Spider-Man No Way Home. In my heart of hearts, like, this is worse than that. Like, and I can't lie to myself. This felt like confirmation bias, like the movie. Like, if you have a problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's here. Like, they somehow, like, won the anti-lottery. And it's like, if you're one of those people who are like, the problem with the MCU is that it's woke, well, I guess this qualifies for that. If your problem with the MCU is that the movies look terrible, congratulations, your movie looks terrible. If your problem with the MCU is that everything's a team movie, congratulations, it's a team movie. If your problem with the MCU is that it's too reliant on like you having seen other things to even like care about why like certain characters show up, congratulations, Valkyrie shows up for no reason. If you and there's like a stupid stinger at the end that means nothing to me, and it's like, it feels like every single problem that you could like lob at the MCU, it, like, came to roost with this one. And the thing is, I don't think any of those things are the problem with this movie. The problem with this movie to me is that it was made out of obligation. And they had a release schedule, they had they have contracts, they have an obligatory, the Captain Marvel sequel that they have to put out, and they just threw everyone together, got in a director who made a Candyman movie that I didn't like, but I thought was a well-directed movie. And I felt like she was hung out to dry. I felt like the cast was hung out to dry. I felt like Kevin Feige is in his golf cart going to all these different productions, having to oversee everything, and then just never showed up to this one. It was like, to me, like, this is like shocking that like it escaped. And for the first 5-10 minutes, I was like, you know what, this isn't so bad. But once I got into like an hour 10 minutes, I've heard people kind of giving this a backhanded compliment of saying it's refreshingly short. This felt like it, it's hard for me to keep this movie in my head because I made a mistake, and that mistake is I saw this Friday night. Because yesterday I woke up and I watched the film AI Artificial Intelligence. So that's one movie. And then I made a second mistake. I went to the theater and I watched Killers of the Flower Moon. So that's 2 movies I've seen in between watching this movie and now talking about it. So there's a lot that I'm probably not going to be able to remember exactly. But I really didn't like this. But I'm glad you guys did. And I want to hear... it's that kind of thing of people enjoying stuff that I don't does legitimately interest me, and I do want to hear you guys talk about what you guys enjoyed about it.
Well,
so,
and you know, I feel like I'm in your shoes right now because you and I have had this with major movies going the other direction, where I vehemently hate or loathe, dislike something, and it was one of your favorite movies in a while. Now, this is not one of my favorite movies in a while, so I'm not in that place, but like you and I have argued ad nauseum about Dark Knight Rises. We talked a little bit about Last Jedi. Like off camera, Connor and I have had these conversations. Like, those are 2 movies Connor likes, and somehow we can still be friends. But so now I feel like I'm kind of in your shoes, where some of the complaints you've lobbed against it I agree with, but I don't kill the movie for me, or I don't care for some reason, or at least I had fun while I was watching it, and I was able to look past those things. There's a lot of looking past stuff with this. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we'll talk about some things I think are really stupid that don't work at all. It's just taste stuff. But some of the things that you saw, I'm like, I feel like we're almost seeing different movies, or my standards are just different from yours, or I'm a broken soul now because I've had to sit through so many horrible superhero movies that this has a couple of choices that I really appreciate. or that I feel like was kind of speaking to me, or maybe I was really happy about things that weren't there, and I somehow was able to have a good time most of the way through. So we're gonna have two very different conversations, I think, if we try to argue too much about things like the movie doesn't look good, because it's just gonna be you going yes it does, no it doesn't, and me saying yes it does, right? I mean, like, I don't have an argument. It's just with the eyes that I was looking through that aren't that great, and this new prescription I got is wrong, and I'm waiting for new lenses to come in, and I can't see great right now. I thought, and that, I'm joking, that's not an excuse at all. I could see the movie, okay. I was kind of surprised not to be taken out anywhere with like crappy CG or bad green screen or anything. Like, I didn't really have that with it.
And I'll say this,
and
is
I
not
was
the
looking for
worst. This is not the worst looking. Like, we live in a post MODOK world, so like this looked better than half of the Quantum Realm. So yeah, I'll give it that.
And then also that litany of. You're spot on with your analysis of what people who are very unhappy with the MCU are going to find in this movie. Absolutely, and like you, but I liked the movie. I don't think any of those things are problems for the film. I think it was a mistake to make it the way they made it. Just again from a strategic standpoint, you couldn't think anybody was going to care about this. Like what were you doing? You either make a Captain Marvel sequel or you don't. Like did they think that shoving in Monica Rambeau and Miss Marvel was going to bring in an audience that didn't really care for Captain Marvel? Because that audience wasn't there for Disney Plus, you know? Like, WandaVision did well, but was it because of Rambeau? Okay, so the one thing you have that you know a lot of your audience actually paid attention to before a lot of them jumped ship and stopped paying for your subscription service was Monica Rambeau, who I would argue is probably not most people's favorite thing about that show. I think she was a standout to me. I thought she was great, and that's one of the things I really liked about this movie is I think she's consistently characterized from that show. I've been looking forward to seeing her again. I think that actress has real chops. I think she's got a lot of screen presence, and it was nice to see her. You know, she was scenery a little bit, but if you think that people are going to go see that movie because she's there, you're crazy. And if you actually think that, you should have made the trailers Monica Rambeau the movie, because your audience wasn't there for Miss Marvel, and you know people are not in love with Captain Marvel. So like, what are you doing? No, the whole thing was a mistake that I liked anyway. It was.
I've got dogs barking on my end, so I'm
okay.
myself muted.
We'll go ahead and get into spoilers here in a second. I'll also say, I'll speak to this just very, very briefly, but just with the whole, you know, wokeness or whatever of it all, you're right that people are going to find ways to read into that. I was pleasantly surprised that it was just a movie that happened to be about 3 female superheroes. That's what I saw, and I didn't feel like there was any pandering or preaching to people. I didn't think there was any like let's make men awful to prop up the women. I didn't feel left out as a male viewer. Even though there's not a lot of male characters at all, like who cares? It's just it's a story told about the people they wanted to tell it about, and it was mostly women working on the movie. That was something I noticed, and understand, this is not an accolade I'm giving at the movie. I'm not saying, oh, it's diverse or whatever, so that makes it good. I'm just saying that me as a guy, as a male writer, as a male straight writer, I tend to write. A male straight white writer, I tend to write about male straight white men. That's what I know. I looked at the credits at the end of the movie, and one of the editors is a woman, the director's a woman, the writers are women. Most of the people that, and of course the main cast is women. Most people working on the movie was women. They wrote about women, okay? You know, and so like that was refreshing to me. That it felt like it was just it was just a fun, kind of throwaway superhero movie that happened to be all about women. And we haven't had very many good female-led superhero movies. Not Connor doesn't think this is one of those, but that was the thing that I was able to appreciate about it, and it was just really escapist. It was just real, like kind of throwaway entertainment that wasn't deeply about anything, but at the same time it wasn't like there was no story there at all, or that it wasn't about anything at all. Like it didn't speak to me deeply or anything, and it probably could have been a less typical, more interesting story, certainly, that was more poignant about something or whatever, but I didn't need it to be that. And again, at least there's no pretension about it. It didn't sit around for 2.5 hours, acting like it was a really important movie.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going. We'll go ahead and start doing spoilers. Folks in the comments, give us some things that you want us to talk about via super chat or otherwise. I think we did have one super chat. I'll read that real quick. Woodgrain Beanie, $2 super chat, says, I liked the Marvels and The Last Jedi.
Well, none of us can agree.
That's absolutely right. I think, Connor, this is one of those movies that when we get into any kind of story analysis, or if I was to sit down and like write about this or do a real in-depth commentary, I would probably at the end of the day be like, yeah, this is messy. This is not a very good movie. You know what I mean? I just had fun while I was watching it, and the couple of story things I wasn't expecting that I kind of appreciated, I'm glad we're there. Again, my standards are on the floor. Like, Captain Marvel is allowed to be a flawed person that made a mistake. Yay. That was good. I can't relate to liking The Last Jedi with Green Beanie, but I'd be interested to know if the reason you liked this movie had anything to do with the reason I did. Anyway.
See, I just like the fact that it was, it was watchable. Like Black Panther 2, I didn't think was very watchable. I can't think of any other MCU movies that came out this year that I watched that I didn't like, but because I like Guardians 3. And I didn't bother with Ant-Man. So.
You didn't want to experience MODOK, Jayson?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I finally told him today what MODOK was, and his mouth just dropped on the floor. He's like, that's what they did? I was like, yeah, and wait till you see it, because it's horrifying.
There's a very high-definition GIF of MODOK flying at the camera, and in the Discord, people will use it every once in a while, and it's the low point of my day every time.
Balance Cubicle 49 super chat. That's a name I don't recognize. Welcome. I'll give you a gong for that. He says the Flerken scene is one of the most audaciously, hilariously terrible moments. By the way, spoilers now, full-on spoilers. Hilariously terrible moments I've seen in a superhero film, and I hated and loved it at the same time.
Yeah, that's where I am on that scene.
I can't believe they played a song from the musical
Cats. I know.
My brain almost exploded.
Yeah, it definitely didn't belong even in the straight up comedy that they were making. I still think it's a more consistent comedy, whether you think any of it's funny or not, than something like the last two Thor sequels. Which I think are just paced horribly and don't have actual scripts, because they just have people improvising everything that happens as they go along. This doesn't have that problem, but I don't know. The long and short of that scene for me is it thinks that it's doing the James Gunn thing of let's have a scene where something horrible is happening, but it's hilarious because of the music and the pacing, and you're watching like people running from their lives for their lives and horrible things happening to them. But there's this juxtaposition, right, with the music and with like the fun fast pacedness of it. The problem is nothing is at stake because everyone is fine. So it was a completely pointless scene. Like all you had to do, whether you like that plot point or not, and Jayson and I have about 15 questions about that plot point. We didn't talk about what he thought of the movie, but he did bring this up in the car because we couldn't get our minds around it. We can break that down here in a second if you want to.
Oh, sure. I'm always
because it doesn't make any sense. But all you had to do is have Nick Fury go, wait a minute, we have a way to save all these people that we don't have room in the escape pods for. We're going to have the cats eat them, and then we'll literally, he says, herd the cats. Okay, all you got to do is have one cat eat a person, and then you cut to we're on the planet now, and we're letting everybody out, and maybe the cats start like upchucking people or something. And it's not funny to me. Maybe it would. You know, the point would probably be there's people in the audience that find this kind of thing funny, so we do it as like one throwaway joke. But like these are really unprofessional people you have working for you, Nick Fury. Like, all you gotta do is get on the PA system before you have the cats running around and go, all right, everybody, this is nuts, it's gross, you're gonna hate it, but stand still, that's an order from Nick Fury. And then they would all do that. They would all stand there and let this happen to. Why are they running for their lives?
Yeah, that was a truly bizarre scene.
This is bizarre.
I got a question.
Yeah.
There's a character in this movie who's like I think Ms. Marvel's dad is talking to him about like investments and like Roth IRAs, and he says that he's an employee at SWORD, or I think who's like says he's like 300 something years old.
Yeah.
Was that a professional athlete? Because that felt like you got like a football player to cameo in your movie because like his daughter likes Captain Marvel or something. It felt like Men in Black 2 when like Michael Jackson is in it, you know?
I could be Agent M.
I could be Agent M.
Connor, that was one of the scenes too. I agree. His performance is not the best. I agree. Or sorry. That was one of the places where I agree with you that it felt like there was a scene missing. And I didn't have as much of that as you did. I was surprised by how relatively tight this actually was. But I mean, I have questions. There's a couple of major places where I'm like, I feel like something is missing. There's no explanation for why something just happened. There's a
like,
line.
How does Captain Marvel or anybody know Dar-Ben's name? They just start saying like, "Oh, it's Dar-Ben." I'm like, "When did you find out that name?"
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
No idea. There is. So maybe I gave it a little bit too much credit, where I was like, you know, it's short, but like it's tight enough. Where I do. When you say the story doesn't make any sense, I think for the most part it does, but there's like little things missing here and there. It's not like Power Rangers 2017. There's not like huge swaths of story missing, I don't feel like. And if it's true that they panicked kind of at the 11th hour with this and reshot a lot of it, it holds together way better than it has any right to, in my humble opinion. But Connor, there's this moment in that scene where and I've seen it twice now, and it didn't make sense either time, where that guy is like, I'm 305 years old, or 306 years old, whatever it is, and somebody behind the dad, I can't remember who, another family member or something, says, oh, he's the same age. Is what? I don't...
No, as...
Oh, it's a joke. It's a joke.
It was a
that,
joke.
Like, you're old, Dad.
Oh, the same age as the dad? Was that the joke? I mean, I missed. I did not understand that joke.
Yeah, he's saying like, oh, I'm 308. Oh, he's the same age.
Well, the line should have been, you're both the same age or something, because I didn't understand that. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Oh.
Okay. Well, there you go. That makes sense. Hilarious.
I've got a question.
That's not that's not a good joke, by the way.
I got a question.
Yeah, and then can we get back to the Flerken scene? And I want to ask like 25 questions about the Flerken scene. We're just getting right into the weeds with this, by the way, guys. We're gonna jump all over the place tonight. Go ahead, Connor.
Okay, so early on, during kind of the first big swapping action scene,
yeah,
where so Ms. Marvel is at home,
right?
Yeah, I'm good.
What happened? He didn't even say anything funny.
I accidentally coughed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had to spit up a hairball. He's a Flerken, and he had to spit out whatever.
I have so many questions.
So
are they bigger on the inside? Wait, I'm sorry. Good.
Yeah. I guess they're like Doctor Who mobiles or whatever those things are called. A TARDIS.
It's called TARDIS.
I wish you'd stuck with Doctor Who mobile though.
So yeah. So there's a during the first like scene where they're like swapping around. Ms. Marvel is at her house, and then Captain Marvel is talking to Nick Fury, and then goes into like a spaceship or like a temple or someplace. She's like in a hallway. No, please, like, help me out here, because they start swapping places, and then Monica just starts showing up in locations, and I'm thinking, where is she bouncing in from? I don't think we established where she was. Did we?
No, I don't think so. And yeah, let's just go there, and then we can go back to Flerken scene in a second.
There's a thing that we wanted to talk about.
This was a huge, maybe the biggest thing I wanted to talk about, Connor. You're right there. Monica just showing up in random places I did not notice.
I did not catch that.
I did not catch that. But I have a big question right around the same place that's very related to this, which is let me break this down, because a couple of things don't make sense in my brain anyway. Maybe someone can explain it to me, because apparently I'm dense. I didn't even understand the age joke. So Captain Marvel runs out of the house right after the scene you're talking about, and she tries to switch, or she's about to run out of the house. She tries to switch. She can't switch. She goes, "Why doesn't it work when I want it to?" She tries to switch. She runs out of the house, and then her answer to this is fly. I don't know where she's going, first of all. I don't know if anybody can explain that to me. I don't know where she thinks she's going. She just shoots up into the air. It seems like it's just a plot contrivance so that we can put Miss Marvel's life in danger, and they can have a fun moment for her and Monica, where Monica has to fly for the first time.
Yeah.
Because they fly now. And she goes, they fly now, Connor, and she goes into the air, and it doesn't occur to her. There's a lot of places where these characters are made kind of dumb just so they don't understand something in the moment to make a thing happen. I don't know. The movie was fun, but people are stupid. So she goes into the air, and she tries to use her power, or she can't fly without also being phased, so she's not able to pick up Miss Marvel, of course. And so that was the whole situation, so that Miss Marvel could be proactive and save them, and all three of them would get something to do in that scene, right? That's the whole reason that it seems to me that's contrived. So first of all, I don't understand why Carol is dumb enough to shoot up into the sky when she knows that at any moment they could switch places, because she doesn't know how this works yet, and I don't know why you would risk that. Like, that's dumb. That's a stupid move. And look, it was stupid because she almost got killed. Okay, and then she disappears, and then she has to fight some people on the spaceship where Ronan is, and then she disappears back, and she falls on the ground, and there's this, I think, nicely timed joke where Nick Fury goes, "Oh, there's Carol," and then we cut again, and we cut back to Ronan, and you get all three of them up there, and I don't know how Captain Marvel got there. I like it made sense the other two were there, but I didn't. I think.
Yeah.
But the way Captain Marvel got there,
She just
I don't know,
appears.
She just appears. The last we saw her, she doesn't switch with anybody because they're all three there. But the last we saw her, she was on the ground in front of Miss Marvel's house. So how did she get there? Did she fly there? Like, was that what she was going to do? Was she going to fly? But then, does she fly through jump points? Is that what she did? Can you do that fast? Maybe that's what it was?
Yeah. See,
But how does she know?
I just don't know where the spaceship
where it is. How does she know where in space? Because I turned to Jayson while we were watching it, and I was like, "Jayson, I don't understand this. How'd she get there?" And he goes, "Well, she's been there before." And I looked at him and I said, "If I disappeared right now I try not to talk too much during the movie, but as you might expect, there weren't a lot of people there. And I look at Jayson and I'm like, look, if I disappeared right now and I showed up at Niagara Falls, it doesn't mean I know how to get to Niagara Falls.
Yeah,
Right, but she was there
true.
in the first place. She went over there.
Oh, she went there on purpose in the
Right?
first place?
I'm pretty
Is that what it
sure.
was?
I thought. I don't know because
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she did. Okay, I was a little lost on that. Okay, so the only thing, maybe it works, but they should have just shown her fly through a jump point, because maybe that's why she flew in the. So she must have been shooting up to go through a jump point. They didn't make that clear enough to me. But maybe
Did she
that.
like fly faster than the speed of light across like a galaxy to get? Yeah.
well, I don't know where the spaceship is.
Where is the first jump point in the Milky Way? Is the question. Because I don't get how she did that. I mean, she can fly pretty damn fast. Well, and here's the thing. When you say faster than the speed of light, I mean, she does fly the speed of light. Her powers are light-based.
Oh, certainly, yeah. And
Okay.
like
I'm sorry, I had to
so-
talk that out. Maybe it does sort of
No,
make sense, but they should have made
I-
that
I think it
clearer.
does. But like, so there are things I am willing to forgive about this movie just from a tone perspective. Like, Carol being able to like fly like to different galaxies in like just a few minutes. I'm fine with that. She has comic book powers. That's fine.
Yeah.
But there are like things about like I'm looking at the comments, and apparently Monica was on the space elevator with Fury.
Yeah.
Was she? Because like
She was.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a
Alright.
whole scene.
They have a scene together.
All right, because I remember them having a scene on that space elevator. I don't remember if that's happening at the same time that Kamala's at her house and Carol's over hanging out with, infiltrating Chiron's palace or whatever. So it's like, I started noticing that like whenever Monica would like swap with somebody, they would like just cut over to who she didn't swap with. And like, why are they trying to hide this? Like, I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again. But it felt like, in terms of like the edit, like something changed like in production to where they needed to like kind of minimize Monica's role in that fight scenes. It kind of felt conspicuous to me, but I could be wrong.
Maybe so. I still say they had a good amount of fun though with all the switching in the scenes. Like I thought it was kind of fun contriving a situation where there would be a big fight in all three of those places, and then different people are fighting the person that the last person was just fighting. Like I don't know. I enjoyed that.
That's cool.
I didn't like the needle drop at all. I didn't need that, and that felt like the hip hop song that's playing during that scene.
Oh yeah.
That was clearly written for this movie, or at least I think it was, because I think there was some mention of the Marvels or Captain or something in the lyrics of that, or maybe that's why they picked it. I don't know, but
how did you like that they had another Beastie Boys needle drop in the year 2023? We've had a lot of those.
And they just did it in their last movie. Stop it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't. No, I didn't love that either. I mean, it was better than this one, but also that's just, at least it wasn't the same song again, because you did have that same song twice. But anyway, and then I even thought that their training sequence was kind of fun. Like they got a lot more mileage out of that conceit that I would have expected. It's still really, really contrived that they're all cosmically connected, because in the comics they all have Marvel in their name, and there's nothing that Miss Marvel has to do with Captain Marvel whatsoever, except that she is a Captain Marvel fan, which is still really weird in this universe to me, because I don't understand how Captain Marvel is that famous on Earth. Like, I still don't get that. Miss Marvel set that up, so I mean, that's that show's problem before it's anybody's, but...
Yeah.
I mean, now they at least have more of an intrinsic link because of what the Bangles turn out to be. Not the rock band, but
Right.
the cosmic handcuffs.
The only thing I didn't like about cosmic handcuffs. The only thing I didn't like.
And it's like, oh, Rambeau and Captain Marvel were really close and nearly family, and they both happen to have light-based powers, and so they're all entangled. Like, God, what are the friggin' odds?
Yeah.
It's almost like it was fate. It's almost like a writer wrote it to happen. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So the only thing I didn't like about the training scene was that they were all like mad at each other like right before that, and then they're like, "Oh, let's juggle a ball." Like, I don't know.
You think they were having too much fun in that scene? They weren't all angry with each other. There's again that friction with Carol and Rambo, which we don't fully understand why that's happening there. And then once we get the revelation later about why Carol's being too hard on herself, that whole thing makes it like I thought it was going to turn out that it was just Carol was too busy and really likes being in space, and I was so glad that it wasn't that.
Right, but also she had that thing with Miss Marvel where like she was being too hard on her.
Well, she just apologized and they moved on.
Well, they had like a little bit like they were just kind of like uneasy. I think that scene was like right before it, and then
but it's a montage. They've spent longer together than we've seen them spend together, and now that they're and it's not like they were palling around and being like the best of friends. They were just doing a lot of like coordination, physical activity to learn how to use those powers.
I think it was probably just music choice to me.
Yeah, it was fun for the audience before it was fun for them.
Yeah. It was a weird change of mood, I think, in just like musically and like
they're lucky, Connor, that Monica and Carol are the same height. I just had this thought because like one of them is balancing books on her head, and then they switch, and then the other one has books in the exact same place on her head. Like if she was shorter, they'd drop on her head.
I think about that kind of stuff way too often. Like Ant-Man's powers like break my brain.
Yeah.
I think I've explained this before on like another stream where it's like when you start doing that where you can just like teleport and appear someplace. It's like, okay, so if you're barefoot, are you bringing like just the particles of the sidewalk that are attached to your feet with you, or are you bringing the entire block of cement with you?
I love listening to you complain about that. It's great.
Like, I'm just questioning it, like, because
Or not complaining about it. Yeah, no, because the thing is, that can't be hard science fiction, or it never works in the first place, right? Like, you have to be soft about that, and that's a wonderful segue to the rest of the Flerken scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Break it down, Jason.
Okay, so
break it down.
Let's break it down.
My big thing with the Flerken scene is, so in the first Captain Marvel, right? We have this cat, right?
Which I loathe with a burning passion. And I don't know how I liked this movie, even though it had so much friggin' damn Flerken stuff.
Here's the thing.
I'm broken.
Throughout the movie.
I'm definitely a broken person.
So, you have, like, the mid-credit scene, right? Where we find out that it's a Flerken, or, like, at the end of the movie, I guess. We find out...
No, we knew before that.
No, there's a... Okay, I guess middle.
It's in the movie.
I hate that movie. I will never...
I don't like that movie either.
I will never remember.
And I think Connor's wrong, and I think
watch it anymore.
This is a better movie because Carol has an actual character arc. But
I will never watch that again. She has a
character arc.
So when they revealed that it's a Flerken, were you expecting that?
What?
Like that the cat was going to be a Flerken.
In this?
In Captain Marvel.
Yeah, because the tree was all of the trailers.
Well, okay, yeah, but
I'm sorry, I can't follow you on this.
The cat is acting like a cat.
Yeah,
is what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
right.
The cat acts like a cat.
Okay,
but it turns out that it's an alien, and then it scratches out Nick Fury's eyes, and it eyeball and ruins his backstory and thematic things about the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
which is why I hate the cat.
Yeah. So they act like cats.
They sure do.
Why are they obeying the freaking humans? Why are they all doing the same thing? Why are they all eating them when they tell them to? They're just doing it
because they need it for the plot to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just doing it, and they shouldn't be because they're cats and they won't pay attention to you.
Okay.
Most of the time.
So huge questions about this scene. And you've really alluded to this, right? the cats are eating people because the plot needs them to, not because they're hungry. You know how I know? Because you're basically saying that no matter what happens, these cats, if you put them up against a human being, are always going to eat said human being or humanoid being, right?
Yeah.
But they don't always do that. You know how I know? Because all of the main characters that need to have dialogue are immune from this, and the cats don't go after them. The cats don't care about the Marvels, and you can say, oh, they're not going after superpowered people, I guess, or something, which is a insane stretch, but okay. But why don't they go after Kamala's family?
Or Nick Fury.
Or Nick Fury.
He doesn't have superpowers.
Do they like the color white? Like, all those people are wearing white outfits. Do they just eat people
Nick
that
Fury
wear...
isn't?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, is all the people they eat are wearing white outfits.
Well, no, not
Is that-
actually.
Some of them
not
are?
all of them. Some of them are just wearing normal civilian clothes.
Okay, next question. How does digestion work for the Flerkens? How long will they be inside the Flerkens before they are digested? Is it actually eating, or are they, like, teleporting them to, like, a pocket dimension, and then when they throw them up, they come out of said pocket dimension? Because I don't know how any of that works.
I couldn't tell you.
So, you know, they're lucky that nobody was digested. Does Nick Fury know how the Flerken digestive process works? He doesn't seem to be in a hurry. He doesn't seem concerned about that.
Well,
And they just threw them all up anyway.
Yeah.
So how does their eating work? I don't...
What guarantee do you have that they will throw them up?
Right.
Is
And
it like
why
a-
are they
Is
running?
it like a toy where you can, like,
And
press
why are
the
they
button?
running? We talked about that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing is insanely contrived.
Makes sense. And after we finish talking about this scene, I have another thing that doesn't make sense toward the end of the movie.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about with the Flerken scene?
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Why would the cats, like, even, like, why would they all do that?
How could Nick Fury be sure that every single one of them is going to eat people?
Yeah.
He's like, I've got a foolproof plan.
Also,
The cats will transport them.
And it's really convenient that they just happened to lay a bajillion eggs on the spaceship so that we could have Flerkens to eat people with to get them out of here.
And
Yeah,
that
they're
seconds after, this is nitpicking, but seconds after they're born, they can run around, and they don't need time to, like, learn how to use their legs or for their eyes to adjust or anything.
and they can eat, like, and, like, I don't know, like, what, like 10-minute-old Flerkens can eat like 20 humans.
But they're hungry. I guess, but they're not.
They're all really small.
I think there's every possibility that this is actual animal abuse, and nobody thought of that. Yeah.
That is child animal labor laws that are being broken, and they need
like me
compensation.
This is what you were talking about earlier, where if you think too much about any of this,
right? It just kind of boom. I hate this movie.
Yeah. No, it's Saturday morning cartoon logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I enjoyed it on that level, but that was more than a bridge too far.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff at the end that's more than a bridge too far. Did you want to go ahead and jump us there?
Jump us where?
Talk about the big question you have about the ending?
Okay, so I have a question about the ending. I don't know if you had this question as well, or if I'm just dumb and didn't catch this. I have
also,
a
let me
question for you
reiterate
guys.
before we leave the Flerkens that, like Connor said earlier, the cats thing, the musical cats thing is nuts, and it's just that because they're cats. Haha.
Yeah.
That's
What does it have to do
hilarious.
with anything?
I wish it was the Jennifer Hudson rendition from the 2019 film Cats, because Captain Marvel also came out in 2019, so continuity.
Yeah, they should have done that.
Continuity.
And it has a weird amount in common with that movie because both of them have entirely CG cats.
That is true.
Okay, so
We should make a musical called Flerkens.
no.
No,
Jellicle Flerkens.
So, toward the end of the movie, right? You have She-Ronin, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
The most memorable MCU villain.
yeah. So we have like the 1-on-3 fight, right? With her versus the Marvels. Just them.
Yeah.
Right? And they fight for a bit, and then she gets like something caught on her leg, right? Like some spike or something, I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, something falls on her.
That was easy.
Yeah. It just falls on her, right?
Like, oh,
Okay,
death follows you. She says to Captain Marvel, and I'm like, I mean, what you're doing is pretty dangerous. There's a good chance you were gonna get killed. I don't know.
So, Captain Marvel's like,
At some point.
okay, I'm gonna, I'm gonna save your planet and do good, right?
Yeah.
And she lifts the thing out of her leg. Why does she do that? Why not go save the planet, and then, just in case she does end up trying to kill you still, then you can deal with her? Why is
Well, she
that
doesn't
still
want her
in
to
her
die.
leg?
Because she's guilting her, being like, death follows you everywhere. I'm dying. You're a killer. You're a killer person. You're not a hero.
Yeah, to be
And
fair,
then
if she
Captain
wasn't
Marvel's like,
dying,
"Oh."
you might have a point, and Carol could just leave her with the other two.
Was she?
She's dying.
It didn't look like that.
I don't think it just went through her leg. I think she's actually dying. Is she not?
Yeah, like it's like some kind of beam that falls on her, and it's like like she's on like a spaceship that will probably explode or crash or something. I don't know, but like, and then there's like a piece of metal that's like sticking into her. I don't know if it's her leg or like her side, but yeah, even if like it's not hitting an artery, she'll probably bleed out if she has like human anatomy or close to it.
But if the point you're making is she trusts her too easily,
Yeah.
I agree with that. The thing is, it's obvious, and this villain is not thought through well enough. Again, I like her initial motivation fine, but it should be clear to Carol, and maybe she's too lost in the weeds with it because she blames herself, right?
Yeah.
And somewhat rightly so. Yeah. But maybe the idea is she is. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry. Where did I start with this? If your idea was she is that Carol is I don't know. I forgot what I was talking about.
No, that's all.
I'll get back there.
Okay. So,
But I think that there's even a bigger issue with that scene, which is just why did it never occur to Carol to do the thing Monica suggests in the first place?
yeah.
That's what I didn't get. Does Monica really need to tell Carol, well, you have the power to go fix their son? Like, even though she's never done it before, why does that never occur to her?
But she said, come on, you can just like go in there with a lot of energy, and then Carol's like, no, that's too risky. And then
Well, she didn't even say that.
Nah.
She just says, I've never done it before.
Well, yeah, she's like, it's too risky. I've never done it before, but I don't want to try it because I might blow up or something. I don't know. And then I think Monica's just like, no, I think you can. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try.
Yeah, well, she says,
Like,
I've done.
it's really flimsy.
I've done lots of things I've never done before. Through this adventure.
That's the line.
I don't even mind all of that. I just don't get why she feels so guilty about it. It keeps her up at night. If you're being kept up at night because you blame yourself for an entire civilization not being able to breathe, where your mind goes is constantly, how can I fix this situation? Like, yeah, there's woe is me, I feel bad that I did this, maybe there's no hope, but you've got to be constantly going, I would do anything I could to fix this problem. How are you not assessing it and thinking about it? I remember what I was going to say earlier. Somehow Captain Marvel is not getting that this woman is power mad and somewhat crazy on top of trying to save her people and angry with Captain Marvel for killing their AI and being Captain Kirk. And it should be pretty clear to her by the way this woman is acting that that like all of the cards are not in the deck.
Yeah.
And so maybe she shouldn't trust her.
Right.
But I think that as a plot point is okay. I just think it's too easy in the scene.
Yeah. I think we have some more super chats.
Yeah, we should get to those. But yeah, that was one of the big complaints I had about the ending on or Connor, where it's like, why does she not think to fix the sun in the first place? This
Yeah.
whole thing could have been resolved years ago.
And there's also it's like some weird like mental gymnastics the movie has to play where it's like I didn't ever I basically was putting myself in a self exile from ever going home because I could never go home knowing like without fixing this problem except for all that time like during the blip when I went to go visit like Lashana Lynch when she had cancer.
Yeah.
I could go home then. But,
Oh, that's true.
But you know,
That's a good
I
point.
could never go home again. It's like basically it's almost like if you're Monica Rambeau, it's like I would be like really mad if like I shared memories with her. It's like, wait, hold on, you gotta say goodbye to my mom and I didn't. Like, are you serious?
Oh
like, I'd be,
no,
like, peeved at that.
That's true. I didn't think of that. Well, and that's
and then you never want to come by and say hi to me. Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, then
But
why?
I mean,
Why
her
does it?
character is that she's upset, so like that's understandable believability. But I do think there's some stuff that's just unaddressed by what we're shown.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't think about that, but I still don't get the timeline. I still don't get how long ago this happened.
I feel like the implication is that like it's like she leaves like Earth in Captain Marvel, flies directly to the Kree homeworld, and then just blows up this like the intelligence, and now it's like 30 years later, and she's like ever since then she's been like kind of living kind of like as a loner since then. But I don't. I mean, it could have happened sometime after that.
Okay, so then the question is, how recently did She-Ronin become the leader of the Kree?
So they talk about how,
and when
like,
they talk about
after-
her predecessor, we're not talking about Ronin, are we? Because he didn't lead the Kree. He was like or did
He's like
he?
a zealot. Yeah,
He was like a religious zealot, but he wasn't like president of the Kree, was he?
No, he seemed to just kind of be more like, I don't know, the all this stuff is kind of
Because
ill-defined,
accuser
like,
was a title in their
Mhm.
on their world.
and he seems to have more of a beef with like the Nova Corps specifically, and he doesn't seem to be. There isn't really like a thing with, I don't know, like when you get to the first Captain Marvel, they don't ever talk about Ronin. Ronan's in that movie.
He's in that movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
Hold
sense
on,
I got
I
was
kept
that
trying to remember this.
they just show it in a flashback and they never talk about it. I don't fully understand the background with the She-Ronin character, because I'm just gonna keep calling her that. Was she Nova Corps? Because she's wearing a
So-
Nova Corps outfit
Oh yeah, because like
in
oh
the
my gosh,
flashback.
it's been too long.
Because
since
she's
I've
not
seen the first-
Kree. Because she doesn't have a blue face.
Well, she says she is Kree. Like maybe she's like a part of the Kree Empire, and that's what makes her like Kree.
Okay.
She's not like racially.
Well, and that makes
Kree.
sense because because we're told that their empire used to stretch through like 25% of the galaxy.
Yeah. So it's like, oh man, I'm not really. I have not seen Guardians, and I've not seen the first Captain Marvel in a while. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how the Nova Corps and the Kree Empire are tied together. Yeah, so it's like she's like a member of like the Kree Imperial Guard, which I think is what Carol was a part of, or was she a part of the Nova Corps?
Oh, maybe it was. Oh, you know what? You're right. And I haven't seen that movie in a long time either because I don't really like it. But
Right.
That's a good call.
But it does kind of look like a.
so
Nova
that's
Corps.
not Nova Squad or Nova Squadron, Nova Corps. Nova Squadron's a
don't
Star
think
Trek
it
thing.
And so yeah, I think like what it is that like she was a member of like the Imperial Guard, like Carol, and then Carol shows up, blows up the Central Intelligence or the Supreme Intelligence, and then a civil war breaks out. And I guess after the Civil War breaks out, they use all of their resources, which includes their son. And then, like, now that they're all starving and dying, she kind of rises up. I don't know how she gets her hammer. Is her hammer kind of like responsible for why she was able to like bring resources?
Well, because Ronan also had one of those hammers.
Yeah, I don't know.
The only thing to amend about the synopsis you just gave is that the Central Intelligence started the war, and she says that killing it just made it worse.
Oh, I did not realize that. Okay.
Am I right? Am I remembering
pretty
this
sure,
right?
yeah.
I think, which I thought was a little bit of a convoluted plot point, because it was like the central intelligence. So the central intelligence like wanted this war to happen for some reason, but in not having it, they lost their resources a lot faster. So like maybe they would have had a better chance at winning the war if they kept the central intelligence. So the idea was, which maybe is, I just thought of this. Maybe there's supposed to be like some social commentary there about like, governments, and she's not a government, but like getting involved in conflicts they don't understand, and like oversimplifying it, where you just get rid of the person at the top and then hope that makes everything better, but it just overly complicates the whole situation.
Yeah. I think that's, it is kind of just like one of those, international incidents are more complicated than just taking out a leader, because there's a lot of, the people involved in it that are.
Which is the whole reason Superman never gets involved in these kinds of things.
Yes. This is why Superman works alone.
That's why he doesn't just work for the American government,
Speaking of Superman,
yeah,
and international incidents, that part where Monica has to fly, that part in Superman 4? They fly now. There's like in Superman 4, there's like that one shot of Christopher Reeve flying that they use like 20 times, and it's like a not very good like chroma thing where it's like basically just his torso up
with no color correction whatsoever.
Yeah. Monica flying to go catch Iman Vellani, that looked like the CGI 2023 version of that shot.
That was actually, so I said that I thought this movie looks okay. That was more than dodgy. I forgot about that part. No, that's true. I was looking at that going, oh, that's rough. You might not believe that Captain Marvel can fly.
Well, that's the marvelous Monica Rambeau.
That's true. That's true. Professor Marvel's not a bad name.
No, not bad. I will say it is kind of a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jayson.
Didn't need that Vision line.
What?
Where Captain Marvel goes, Vision. Oh wait. No.
Oh, I missed that. Did she say that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like this is not really a complaint with the movie, but now that they've called this the Marvels, like you can't do like a cool adaptation of Marvels like Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross. I was kind of hoping like someday you could have like this adaptation where it's like it's going through from like 2008 till whenever, that it would kind of be like a cool Marvel Cinematic Universe adaptation of that concept.
I had that thought when they announced this. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I can't believe I didn't think about that until like I was in the movie theater watching it going, oh, okay.
Well, they had that thing at the after credits. Was it? No, it wasn't after credits with Avengers. It was whatever movie was setting up Age of Ultron that first introduced us to Wanda and Quicksilver, where they had the evil Nazi guy who was like or not Nazi guy but German guy. Help me out. Hydra.
Baron von Strucker.
That's what it was.
Von
Strucker. It's been too long now.
Was it Guardians or was it Winter Soldier that did?
No, I think it was Winter Soldier maybe, and he was, I can't remember now. But remember the whole thing where he was like, we're coming into the age of miracles or whatever it was that he said, where we see them using their powers, and I know a lot of people didn't agree with me when I said this, but I still kind of stand by it. I would have made the name for superpowered people in this universe Marvels, like Marvels did it. Like the comic book Marvels did it. Like DC's metahumans.
Yeah.
That's where you use the word Marvel. I always thought.
That actually would have been pretty cool, yeah.
I think. I don't know. But there is, going back to something you were talking about a second ago, there is, Jayson, there is too much of like Miss Marvel because she's a fangirl, like knowing stuff she should. There's a little bit of like her knowing stuff she shouldn't know, or things coming up nonsensically just to justify the title or be cutesy about it. That whole business with, and again, it's really awkward. But that whole business where we're on the planet where everybody speaks in song, the line about the prince being bilingual I thought was really funny. But the business where the guy that introduces the prince, the black guy, he's like he belts out the Marvels, and then one of them says, "How did that even catch on yet?" Yeah, you can't have that. Is such a like CW Arrowverse move. Like you can't have just a throwaway line about that because you want that to be there, and then that explains it and justifies it. They haven't even mentioned it outside of a ship.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
like Miss
there could be a
Marvel
scene that they
came
cut,
up with her team name. She's never said it anywhere else.
yeah, we need to talk about that planet.
I'm sorry, Connor. I talked over you. What were you trying to say?
I was saying, like, it could have been in a scene that was cut.
It probably was.
Yeah. Anyways, what were we gonna say, Jayson?
What if it was like what if it was like an intergalactic news report? Because this is how we always do it. It's always journalists. Even if somebody else has already come up with it, there's always a journalist that's like, they're being called the Marvels, or we've dubbed them.
Breaking news!
We've dubbed them the Marvels.
Marvels have just saved this planet.
There's a new villain. He's called Mr. Freeze.
We need to talk about that planet, because that was a throwaway scene, I thought.
Oh, you mean just kind of a waste?
Yeah.
I got something to say about that.
Okay,
So,
Connor, let's hear it.
When I heard them say they were going to do a planet, there was like a musical planet in this movie, I was like, you know what? I want to see that. I like musicals, and if we're going to do we have to incorporate more cinematic language into the Marvel Cinematic Universe to like kind of keep it fresh. They tried doing like a pre-code horror thing with Werewolf by Night. I didn't like it, but people did. Cool. Then it's like we're like doing something musical with superheroes just feels like a very intuitive thing to do for me. Like I like musicals a lot, and you know what? Starting in February, I started dancing this year. I've been really getting into ballroom style dancing. It's really fun. And so I'm thinking, oh, that'd be great. They go to like a musical planet. Like even if the movie's not great, whatever. Wow. They didn't even commit to the bit. Like I was so disappointed by that. Okay, they need to like sing, and that's basically the only way people will understand you. Great, cool. That's like a little. Is it wacky and silly, and it kind of puts people off? I know a lot of people just were not on board with that concept. Fine. I was willing to going in. That was kind of like I'm willing to buy that. Then like Carol has like a dance number. I could have choreographed a better dance number than that. It was so half-hearted, and like all the singing was like. It was not enough, and like they don't use that story idea to like cleverly. They just kind of use it for a second and they go, we're done with it. I was really disappointed by that whole stretch.
Yeah, and that
was actually kind of what I was looking forward to.
It either should have gone longer or just not be in it.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't attempt any kind of, and I mean, like this is obviously not a very smart movie, so maybe I shouldn't expect this, but I actually thought that you guys will think I'm crazy when I say this, because even though I've had a lot of complaints, I enjoyed this movie. I think the way the cosmic entanglement thing is used thematically is decent, and I can talk about that a little bit later if we get there. But if you're gonna have a whole lengthy sequence like that with people that communicate through singing, it really should fit somehow thematically into the grander narrative, and it's kind of just there. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything.
Yeah, it's like the, well, I'm not gonna compare this at all to this scene, but it's like the Mary Poppins floating on the ceiling scene. You don't need that. You don't need that scene.
Yeah, but it's a good song, and you could say that about half the things in Mary Poppins.
Right.
Like it's whimsical. They're all making kind of the same point, but yeah. So.
I'm gonna get going pretty soon.
Yeah, that's cool.
So.
Jason's not gonna stick around for the whole thing because we're probably gonna go longer than he needs to get into bed after a bit. But what else do you really want to talk about before you go? And then I'll get to the other couple of super chats we have
I'm
here.
trying to think. I'm not sure. I've kind of said what I wanted to say about it.
Okay, I'm surprised you flipped green.
That was a mixed bag. Like, I enjoyed it, but man, thinking about that's gonna hurt my head.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get to these other super chats. Thanks for hanging out with us, Jayson.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Bye, Jayson. Oh, Cap's on mute. I hijacked it. It's all to myself.
He's like, so here's why Cap is insane.
My stream now. Ha ha ha.
Why didn't I take this with me?
I don't know, why are you taking my feeling it sign? Connor, actually, real briefly before I get to Christian Ogden's super chat here, and guys, if there's other things you want us to talk about with this movie that we haven't hit yet, feel free to throw more questions and comments in. I'll go ahead and just briefly mention the thematic thing I noticed with entanglement. So the idea as I read it is, and I called this at the beginning, like the live action Powerpuff Girls movie. The analogs are pretty clear to me. Where Miss Marvel is Bubbles, and Captain Marvel is Buttercup, and Monica Rambeau is Blossom. You have the brains, and you have the brawn, and you have the heart. That's a pretty standard recipe for a triad like this. And is it kind of stereotypical? Sure. Is it thin? Sure. But I like that all three of them get enough to do, and you're absolutely right that it is a straight up sequel to Captain Marvel, but it's still all three of their movie, at least more than I kind of expected it to be. She's really the character that gets the arc, and I don't really think that's a problem. I feel like the other two need to kind of facilitate her arc, but Monica Rambeau gets to a place at the end. It's just not a full-blown character arc in the sense that she has this big opportunity for change. She has a small one in coming to appreciate what the reason that Carol didn't come back to Earth for her, but it's not a big choice she has to make. It's not a big moment of self-discovery or anything. It's discovery about the person who the story is really about, right? And in that way, it's like, even though I'm casting Captain Marvel as kind of the buttercup of the team as opposed to the leader like Blossom, she is kind of, like I said, the character the story is really about. So, like, she's really the face of the movie, and then, or like, I don't know, if they were a... If they were a body with three different personalities that all come together to make a whole, Captain Marvel would be the physical manifestation you would see. She would be the body, and then the other two would be large aspects of her personality. Maybe even like an ego, super ego thing or something. I don't know. I'm not gonna read that. I'm not gonna act like this movie is that smart. That's not what it's doing. But I don't know. It could be that, I guess, if you really wanted to stretch it. But what I'm saying is, what you really have is one character that the three of them come together to form, kind of like the Powerpuff Girls, but they're embodied by the one character who gets the real arc. And the entanglement thing is the three of them, and this is where they all, in their way, have arcs, but it's very surface. It's not really like honest to God self-discovery character arcs. It's just they each, the universe basically handcuffs them all together, like I said, so that they can learn to work together, and then through that figure out how to stand alone. And then once they've all learned to stand alone, then they're able to, at the end, not be entangled anymore. And so Captain Marvel has to learn not to be so hard on herself, and ultimately how to go fix the problem she caused that she should have been able to figure out herself, but didn't. And then Monica has to come to a realization that her aunt does still care about her, and that was all about her own insecurities, so that she can move on and not be, angsty about that whole thing and kind of stand on her own. And then she has the big, the big sacrifice at the end. And then Miss Marvel has to simply learn how to be less of a fangirl and stand on her own as a superhero, I guess. And so, I mean, like, I don't know, it's not again super smart or anything, but I think that's kind of what they were going for with that whole thing.
Yeah, and like, that's not a bad, like, kind of thematic core. I think these three work as, like, on paper they work as a team pretty intuitively. I think that comparing this to, I don't know, like the family of Ant-Man people in Ant-Man, like, I don't think, like, that just kind of feels like over the course of 3 movies we've kind of just accumulated like a big cast, and like we're just kind of struggling to find something for them to do. Like, this did feel like more like, oh, we can put these characters together. But to me, I think the more thematic stuff that you're talking about gets a little diluted, just sort of by the plot mumbo jumbo, like the techno babble. Really doesn't make sense to me. I feel like that kind of distracts from the thematic stuff that you're kind of identifying. But I really didn't give that kind of thematic stuff much thought, but I'm, cool to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the story is not working for you at all and you're distracted because you're bored, you're not going to think of that stuff. Like, why would you? And again, the characters are sometimes dumbed down to make the plot work. I think it's insufferable at the end when Monica decides to do the big self-sacrifice, and it doesn't occur at all to the other two that it might be a one-way trip and that it's a kamikaze mission. What the hell are they thinking? What did they think was going to happen? And when Monica's on the other side, in the other dimension, she's like, I always knew it was a one-way trip. And I'm like, how did the other two not know that? And why didn't you? So she's the brains of the operation and knows the other two are imbecilic to the point where they not only don't understand technobabble that she's spewing that's not even really technobabble, that I don't have any trouble understanding what she's saying, but also basic like logical situations of, well, you sent her over there to patch a wall, and you knew she'd be on the other side of that wall.
Yeah.
But you didn't think it was a suicide mission? So
there's a couple of questions I have. She's like, well, 2 things.
Well, if not suicide, at least that she'd be stuck over there.
Yeah. The first question is, she's like, well, not question, but, oh, I always knew this would be a one-way trip.
Yeah.
Always, you mean for like 2 minutes?
I always knew that. It was all leading to this.
I always knew since I was a child 30 years ago when I saw Captain Marvel leaving the planet that it would all end like that. No, but then the other thing is, it's like, she's like, oh my god, we're looking at a parallel reality. How do you know that? Like, how do you know you're not just looking at the other side of the universe? Because they're jump points, right? Like, so if they're the way.
Yeah. How does she? Well, look, she's the smart one, okay? If Donatello said that in a Ninja Turtles thing, you wouldn't even question it.
Nope. Wouldn't have thought of that.
But I'm not disagreeing with you. No, that's stupid. That's true. That's true. How does she know that?
Well, she knows that they're in the multiverse saga, so it has to be a parallel reality. I mean,
okay.
What other options are there?
I just had this thought, and you're gonna think I'm giving this movie way too much credit when I say it, and it's probably a coincidence, but it's kind of maybe sort of almost neat. and that is, I didn't think of this until just now. Monica, when we first met her, was trapped inside of Wanda's like self-made reality, and at the end of this she gets stuck trapped in another reality.
Oh no, I think that might actually be something to that.
That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah.
Like, it's sad and tragic that this crap keeps happening to her.
Yeah, so
I like that. And that's how she got her powers in the first place.
Like this
this
thing where she can never go back home, and, like, Carol doesn't ever want to go back home, and you know, Ms. Marvel is, you know, she's at home. She has a family. She has a home, and she's trying to leave. She's trying to grow up. And
yeah, good call. And Captain Marvel's like stuck forever being a loner.
Yeah.
Because she's too powerful, she's got that responsibility. And when 2 does not a pattern make, but you could do a thing with this where every time Monica Rambeau gets trapped somewhere, there's a trade-off where she gets some kind of reward for it. So the first time around, it sucked what happened to her, but ultimately she got her superpowers. And this time around, she got to meet an alternate reality version of her mother. Like, there's something maybe to that.
No, certainly, yeah.
Now, that was insanely convenient. Like, what are the odds that the first person she meets is an alternate reality version of her mom? Okay. That just happens to be with... that just happens to be with Beast from the X-Men for no reason?
So her mom has, like, an interesting logo where it's, like, 2, like, stars that kind of look like a hashtag. I thought it was, like, I'm like, is that supposed to be, like, a 4? Is she a member of the Fantastic Four on this universe?
No, we got a superhero name for her, and I had never heard of this character before, but I think it was it Binary?
Oh.
I thought that's what I heard Beast say, where maybe she's got, like, math powers or something. I don't know. But you'd think her logo would be, like, 1s and 0s. I don't...
You are the ghost in the machine. You are... Binary.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I know people are going to ask us about this, so we could just hit this right now. But like, did she wind up in a like tangentially like 1 or 2 realities over version of the X-Men movies, or is it the X-Men movies? Like, is she in exactly that universe? Because we saw Patrick Stewart, Professor X, in one of these, and that was a different universe where he just happened to still look like Professor X and was followed around by the 90s theme instead of the Ottman theme for some reason. And now the Ottman theme is there. So is it that? Is it the future of Days of Future Past? Because the last time we saw Kelsey Grammer... Look, I'm going to get into this because I love the X-Men movies.
No, I mean, you're bringing up a great point, because I was going to say, well, I guess this universe just likes doing the 90s X-Men sting, because in the final episode of Ms. Marvel, they play the X-Men sting, like that, but not the Ottman theme, but like the 90s.
Da-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, that's played in Multiverse of Madness. I didn't notice the Ottman theme here. They might be. You're right. They might be doing like. So I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. Do they know if it's in that world or not? But and I mean, it could be addressed in Deadpool 3. It could be addressed a million years from now in Secret Wars. Like, who knows? But they and like, I'm overthinking this. It probably won't matter because after credit scenes rarely pay off in any way. But But I just wonder if they have any idea as to whether she's actually in that universe. Because the last time we saw Kelsey Grammer's Beast was at the end of Days of Future Past. So it's possible that she's in that altered X-Men reality where those characters, where they have a more utopian version of the future after Wolverine fixed everything in Days of Future Past. I don't know.
I gotta say,
him and CG did not look the best.
I was gonna say, I've heard a lot of people clowning on the CG. It didn't look all that much better or worse than what I've come to expect from Marvel. Like I said, we live in a post-MODOK world. It looked better than MODOK's. So. But
the reason it looks rough to people is because you can't help but compare it to what he looked like when he was not a CG character.
Oh, certainly.
You know, and that's why you don't want to do that with somebody you've seen before. They should have either, and I know Kelsey Grammer is like probably pushing 70, maybe he's in his 70s. I doubt he would want to put all that makeup back on. I mean, he did it for Days of Future Past, but that was a decade ago. You either have him put all the makeup back on and let him look like he looked, or you do something different from that. I don't like the choice to make him CG, especially if that's a sign of things to come with how they're gonna handle mutants in the X-Men movies. Like you don't want a cluster thing of awful looking CG creatures. Because one thing you got to give Fox X-Men is they did a lot of makeup.
Yeah, I mean,
they did a lot of prosthetics.
I have a soft spot for the Fox X-Men movies. I'm like you. Like I love Days of Future Past. I really like First Class. Even when those movies get bad, for the most part, like they're bad in pretty legendary ways. Like, I mean, X-Men Origins Wolverine, like, wow. they released that with a straight face. That takes some guts.
His memories won't grow back.
You're gonna walk till your feet are stumps, and then you're gonna keep walking.
How many times can we have Wolverine and Sabretooth jump at each other?
I don't know. Oh, what an iconic film. And you know what? Even like, well, no, Dark Phoenix was a stinker. That one wasn't any fun at all.
Neither was Apocalypse.
No, and I can't. I was in denial.
I hate Apocalypse more than Dark Phoenix. I mean, Dark Phoenix was kind of a mulligan for me. Like, it's an hour too short. Like,
yeah.
like it's just a giant rush job. The only thing I remember positively from that movie, I don't remember much negative either. It's just it's not there. It's like whatever. But they had a bat phone, and that was cool. Like, the president can call them on their red glowing X phone. That's cool.
Do you remember this? Like, back when that movie came out on Blu-ray, I went to Best Buy, and it was they had a little sign out front that was like, "Complete your X-Men collection, buy a Dark Phoenix." And I like took a picture of that.
That's
I sent
great.
it to you, and I was like, I kind of don't want to buy this movie now because
I forgot about that.
Like, please, you feel obligated to buy it, right? Buy it.
That's really smart advertising, though. Because there's no other reason to buy it. It's just like, no, another one came out.
Yeah. It's the
Complete
last
your
one
collection.
because they still didn't know if New Mutants was going to be coming out. So
That's true, too. Well, and what I was going to say is it's the last one that had X-Men in the title, but in the theater it didn't.
Exactly, yeah. When they released it on home video, it was X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, then on video. It's sort of like the reverse of the Ghostbusters 2016 thing, where it came out as Ghostbusters, but then suddenly on video it had a subtitle.
Yeah.
But it also had a subtitle in the credits at the end, where like, and you don't see it unless you watch all the way through the credits, where it says Ghostbusters Answer the Call, and I was like, what the hell does that mean? When did that show up? What is that? But I'm getting way ahead of myself now, or ahead of myself. I'm running off into other. Did you notice this? Well, you might not have had the same trailers I did, but I had this realization, and then we'll get back into this movie. I promise. I had this crazy realization. Observation watching trailers with Jayson. Right, I looked over at Jayson. I was like, do you realize that within the next year, so I don't mean 2024, I mean just within the next year from now, November to November, there will be 3 new movies in the theater that all have the word kingdom in them.
Okay, let's count through them. We got Ghostbusters.
You have Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom, the most counterintuitive title I've ever heard for a Ghostbusters movie. And then you have, and it looks like it could be cool. I'm just saying, weird, random out there, you know, off the beaten path choice. And then
that was a solid Mr. Freeze pun you put in there.
I didn't even do it on purpose. I should have tried to rhyme it at the same time. And
you said it looks pretty cool.
Looks pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool party. And then you have Planet or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And then the first one of these, though, this year will be Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And then and we'd already seen 2 of them, and then the Planet of the Apes trailer played, and Jayson looked at me and he goes, and we just saw trailers for all 3 of them today in the theater. Kingdom times 3. Why? And this isn't new. We were already doing this. Why does Kingdom show up as often as Dark?
A decade ago.
and what else? What are? There's a couple other titles that we just cannot, or words that we can't get away from with movie titles.
Yeah, no, Dark is very popular. Dark Phoenix.
Love that. Dark Phoenix Into Darkness.
Into Darkness.
The Dark Knight Rises into
Dark
Darkness.
World, Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark World into Darkness.
The Darkness, yeah.
And I don't know. There's other words like that. But can you believe that?
Yeah, no, I didn't even. I can't believe I didn't realize that while I was in the theater. But Yeah, because then there's also like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Fallen Kingdom, yeah.
There's another kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes looks pretty
Kingdom
good.
of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we use it a lot.
I did. Wow. You're blowing my mind.
Yeah. Going back a couple of decades, even. Okay, Christian Ogden has a super chat. Should we get to these super chats?
Yeah, let's do them.
$4.99, I appreciate you, man. The only reason they changed Miss Marvel's powers was to make this movie's gimmick work. I'm even more annoyed by that show now. Do we know that for a fact, though? Like, do you think from the moment that they decided to make a Miss Marvel show, they had their ducks enough in a row to go, eventually we will pay off the bangle thing by having another one, so she's got symmetrical, superpowered gauntlets? Maybe. But I hadn't had that thought.
Do you think that maybe Ms. Marvel and this movie were sort of kind of conceptualized together? Like maybe the original idea for like a Captain Marvel 2 would be she comes back to Earth and there's like a fangirl and they kind of do something with the two of them, who's like Ms. Marvel. And maybe we could like set Ms. Marvel up in her own show and then we can bring her into the Captain Marvel sequel later. And then they kind of like reconsidered her powers and maybe like from the beginning they were kind of thinking about redoing her powers as a light-based thing to tie into Captain Marvel.
Yeah, they could have done a mentor kind of thing where it would be almost, maybe they were thinking that. I didn't have that thought where it's almost the reverse, and then they changed it when they decided that maybe Captain Marvel couldn't float a movie all by herself. Or for a while I thought it was maybe partly even that they were having a difficult time working with Brie Larson and they didn't want to give her her own movie, but she gets so much to do in this. I don't think that's what it was, because it still feels like her movie to a large degree. But maybe it was supposed to be like the reverse of Spider-Man: Homecoming, where you introduce or you give Spider-Man his own standalone movie, but Tony Stark comes in to mentor him. Where you do the same thing, except you introduce Miss Marvel in a Captain Marvel movie, and then you give her own show after that.
Yeah, maybe. And then now that I'm like, I have zero like information like validating this. This is pure speculation.
Yeah.
But like maybe they were like, oh yeah, what if we give her her own like kid sidekick on Earth, like Ms. Marvel? And they're like, oh wait, don't we have like Photon is already like a character, like Monica Rambeau is like already on Earth. Like we should probably do something with her too, since like Captain Marvel would know who she is, and so maybe that's, I don't know. Like I don't know what came first. Like maybe when they were thinking of and planning Phase 4. Maybe this is like the first stuff in Phase 4 that was planned because maybe they were thinking about all this when they were making the first Captain Marvel movie. I don't know. And so, because like all the like the characters being so intertangled and like doing like the jump points have like a hexagon design, and then like Scarlet Witch's like thing is.
See,
like,
I was thinking hexagon. That too when she gets stuck on the other side of the wall at the end of this. I was like, it's hexes again.
Yeah, and so like there's a lot of like tying the universe together in this movie, which it's weird for a movie that feels this. It's kind of like The Dark World, where it's like it feels so throwaway, and like they kind of realize that this wasn't working, so they're trying to minimize the damage of this movie and make it more fluffy and breezy. But like they're tying in a lot of stuff where it's like it's the quantum band, so quantum, and also like the cosmic, like the Guardians use like those jump like kind of hexagon portals. And then we're tying that in with Captain Marvel, who got her powers from like, Infinity Stones, and then like you have.
And you've been doing Kree stuff all the way back to the first Guardians, and you've got.
Yeah. And
now, to be fair, you got to do Kree stuff because it is Captain Marvel, and I don't know, that was dumb because earlier I think I momentarily forgot that Captain Marvel was raised by the Kree because I don't care about that first movie, and I have liked Captain Marvel in some comics, but I've never really paid that much attention to her back. So I always forget that she's wrapped up in the Kree.
Yeah, so it is just kind of interesting how like all of these things are kind of being tied together, but I feel like the way they tie it together is just technobabble and like jargon, and it doesn't feel significant to the universe or to the characters. Like it does just sort of feel like a way to justify a gimmick. And I don't like that very much.
No. No, that's fair.
There's a way to make this work. I think there is a way to make this work, but they didn't.
It was... I think and I'm not saying that you are super invested in the MCU right now, because you're obviously not. But I think, just speaking for myself, regardless of all the interconnectivity superficially to other MCU stuff, I'm so not invested in the grander universe that it was really easy for me to just take this as its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoy some of the ways that it, again, superficially connects to things I've liked before. This is the first time I've actually enjoyed Nick Fury in a long time, and he's got this real, like, sarcastic, doesn't give a crap attitude, like, as much as he's ever had. And I just thought some of the comedic timing that he had was pretty good. And they just completely ignored Secret Wars, which was the right move.
I think...
Isn't it weird that nobody ever brings up Talos in this? Like, if you didn't see Secret Wars, and you don't know that Talos is dead, you're going to go through this entire movie going, where the hell is Talos? Like, they're doing Skrulls again, and Fury is... and there's no Talos.
I think some of, like, that would make... Okay, sorry, brain blast. I just realized something. So, I think the original, like, release plan was this was supposed to come out before Secret Invasion. And so I think some of the reshoots were to maybe get Talos out of the movie, because the Skrull plot ends with them all going to Asgard, or New Asgard, which is on Earth. They go to Earth because Valkyrie shows up to take them to Earth.
Yeah.
Right. So like maybe that is in another version of this movie was to set up Secret Invasion. Like these Skrulls go to Earth. And then Secret Invasion.
I had that thought, but those Skrulls were not the same Skrulls from Secret Invasion, because unless it was some Skrulls from New Asgard leave and become terrorists. But I don't think we're told that in Secret Invasion. Now, I watched it one time talking over it for a stream, and that's the only way I would watch that, because I would fall asleep through like 70% of it if I didn't do it that way. So somebody can tell me that actually paid close enough attention, and you're a better man than I if you did. But
well, and I think like I don't know, like they're probably like I would just be curious to live in the world where like the releases were swapped. Where like,
if you're right though, if that did happen and they shot it with Talos in it, why the hell would you let Secret Wars kill him? What are you doing?
I don't know. Maybe like the plan was always to have Talos die in Secret Invasion because that was supposed to come out after.
But they released it wrong. I see what you're saying. I still don't understand why they let Secret Invasion kill him anyway, though.
Maybe Ben Mendelsohn was like, "I'm out of here, guys."
It's just such a weird ass place to do it, though. They must have thought a lot more people were going to watch that show. And again, I was excited about it initially until I watched 20 minutes of it.
I have not seen Secret Invasion, and I have not seen Loki season 2.
I haven't seen that yet either. And
I canceled my Disney Plus like 6 months ago, and I've not looked back.
I have heard really good things about Loki season 2, and I've just been so burnt out on MCU I couldn't get excited about watching. I was like, eventually I'll get there. And it's funny that I'm having such an opposite reaction to you, because look, guys, I think we've made it pretty clear in the last 2 hours. This movie is actually pretty dumb, but I had fun with it anyway. I feel like I could bring myself to go ahead and start looking at something again, especially if it was good. You know what I mean? Like I might start binging through Loki season 2 in a week or two if I can find the time. If I'm interested enough in it, like I feel like talking about it, I'll do a video, but I'm not going to commit to that.
Yeah, I really didn't like the first season.
Oh, and that's fair. There's probably no reason to watch that if you didn't. But I did like that,
a lot of
and it was very.
Liked that first season, and
look, what I like about it is that it's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be. Now the problem is it's doing too much, like setup and interconnectivity with the rest of the universe to be a thing that is not for everybody. You know, that's maybe a problem.
Yeah,
but not everything has to be for everybody.
Yeah, and you know what? To this movie's credit, it doesn't feel like you need to have watched Disney Plus shows, because I skipped Secret Invasion. I didn't feel lost, even though Skrulls and Nick Fury are here, and I've seen Ms. Marvel.
Well, and it completely ignores Secret Invasion. It's like that's never happened. You'd have no sense that Nick Fury just dealt with stopping a Skrull invasion. Like,
But like, and all the relevant stuff from WandaVision and Ms. Marvel is recapped in this, so you don't need to have seen that stuff.
No, I thought it was. As somebody earlier said, they disagreed with us, and that you really do need that stuff. I respectfully disagree. Now, I'm saying that having seen WandaVision, but I never finished Ms. Marvel. I don't know how that show ends, and it recaps some of that, as much of that as you need without. And I think that they're pretty adept at interweaving it, where it's like, here's what you need, but we're not going to full-on spoil it in case this ends up being an advertisement for Miss Marvel for the people that didn't see it, because we know that like 25 people watched that show. Yeah. So, because I don't think that show was very well watched, right?
No, it's one of the lower watched ones.
That's
but
what
I think
thought.
It'll probably have a resurgence in viewership because Ms. Marvel's the thing people are really responding to in this movie.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That was one of my.
I think that show's pretty okay. I like the first 2 episodes a lot.
I did too, yeah, and I lost interest in it, which is why I haven't gone back to it. But I watched 4, and then I was just like, man, I'm not hating this, but I don't really care anymore. I felt like I got what I needed to out of it, which is, I like this actress, I like this family, their dynamic is good. I don't really care how the story ends, but I like these people together.
That's how I've been feeling. Is it's like, even like with something like She-Hulk, like the first like few episodes, I'm like, yeah.
That's how I was.
Your arc with that show, I was watching that live stream. I fell asleep watching it, actually, on Friday night. But, like, you had the exact same arc with that show that I did, where you were like, hey, Tatiana Maslany's good. I mean, it's kind of a disposable sitcom, but in that realm, it ain't bad. Like, it's doing what it's doing. And then as you're watching it, the overarching plot really kind of starts to come home to roost. You're like, oh, this ain't good at all. Yep, I agree.
And then it's just baffling and insane at the end. And again, I probably enjoyed this more because I just come off of She-Hulk. Like, I'll admit that probably happened. But again, I went back and watched it again, and I still enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did.
The seams are showing more, certainly. But even with everything we've talked out, some of which I didn't think about before, I don't think it's gonna just completely ruin it. It's not gonna be a thing I go back to a lot.
Certainly, I mean, like, I think kind of to relate it's like Wonder Woman 1984 to me. Like, I go back and I watch scenes from Wonder Woman 1984. I don't watch Wonder Woman 1984.
You need to do an edit where that movie is reasonably lengthed and paced.
Yeah.
Because when you say you watch scenes from it, that's because about 65% of it doesn't need to be there.
It is needlessly 2.5 hours long.
That movie should be the length this is, or shorter.
Yes.
Wonder Woman 1984 should be a 1 hour and 20-minute film.
Yeah, if you really wanted to bring, like, the Richard Lester era of Superman to Wonder Woman, you make that thing 100 minutes or less. Like,
yeah.
You make that short.
Because you know what Lester didn't do? He didn't make a 2.5-hour film.
That is exactly what he did.
Can you imagine if the Marvels was 2.5 hours? We'd be having a very different conversation. Well, at least on my end.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would have walked out, if I'm being honest.
Hey, one point I want to make real quick, and then we'll get back to super chats. Is and I'm just speaking for myself. This is what a good reviewer does. Hopefully, I'm decent enough at what I've been doing for 14 years. I'm just speaking my mind and calling it like I'm seeing it, even if what I'm saying sounds bat crap insane. I've complained, and again, this is more about the battle strategy that Marvel has had than it's about what I feel about what I'm watching, right? They have not introduced the right characters in the right ways to keep people invested the way they were up through the last 2 Avengers movies, right? A lot of these characters people see as disposable, throwaway, or they don't understand them, or they just don't relate to them. I have talked about that a lot. I think, at least for me, they're not focusing in on the characters that are kind of cool and fun and didn't introduce them in the right places. Hawkeye should have had a movie, not a TV show, because everybody would love Kate Bishop if they had done that and people had gone to the theater and they'd seen that. If they do the Young Avengers thing, I'm very, very on board and actually kind of excited about it. And I have not been excited about MCU stuff. I love Kate Bishop. I like Miss Marvel quite a bit. I
You like America Chavez?
love America Chavez, and a lot of people don't. I don't like her in the comics. They turned me around on that character or at least I like their version in the movies. This feels like a fun team to put together. I kind of want to see that. They're not focusing on the right characters.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Ant-Man's daughter.
No, I'm not either. And I didn't notice the mention of her until the end of this, and I was like, ooh, okay. I don't really need that.
Yeah. And then I guess Spider-Man would probably be on that team too.
It's hard to say because they're talking about Spider-Man 4 being some sort of soft reboot. So I don't know if they're inching him away from MCU and moving him more into the Sonyverse direction. But that's my prediction, though, is that he's going to get farther and farther away from the MCU, which is insane because that's one of the only characters they have that people are excited about, and he made $2 billion in his last movie.
Speaking of trailers, I finally saw the Madame Web trailer ahead of this movie.
How excited are you to review that? I can't wait. I can't wait to talk with you about that movie. And you're going. By the way, you're going.
I can't not go. Like, how can you watch that trailer and say no to that? Like, it's gonna be a trip. What's that line? Like, he was in the Amazon when my mom was researching spiders before she died.
I can't wait.
Do we have super chats we gotta get through?
Yeah, let's get through those. So, Ballin's Cubicle 199. The Flerkens have pocket dimensions inside them. Okay, if they have established that, I missed it. But why do they eat all the stuff they eat if they have pocket dimensions? Like, how does it satisfy them? What does it do for them biologically? I don't understand them as a species. Like, it's a fun idea, but what's the point of it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird thing to, like, I don't know, like, they only exist in the Captain Marvel movies, and I'm like, I don't know why. Like,
that was another point I was going to make earlier. Is I get the sense going back 20 minutes to the conversation we were having about how they might have gotten to the choice to put these three characters together and give them a movie instead of having a Captain Marvel solo sequel or introducing Miss Marvel this way. Connor, I wonder if oh my goodness, I've lost my train of thought again.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
What was it? Yeah, we
were talking
about so many different things. Oh, I know what it is. So it seems perplexing to me that Captain Marvel as a movie has informed the grander MCU as hard as it has, being a movie that, or at least being a character that they seem real timid about now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. Skrulls all over the place. And you know like they kept kind of shoving Talos and stuff, and we keep bringing up like, I don't know, it seems like that universe, and then with Monica Rambeau in WandaVision, like, it seems like that movie informs the MCU more than anything else in recent memory, and that just seems odd to me for a character, for at least a character that they seem to be a little bit unsure of. Yeah, like they're tepid about people's response to that character, even though the film itself made $1 billion.
Well, that's the thing that's, like, it's weird to me, because I feel like they've always been kind of keeping her at a distance. Like, even like, because they would have made Endgame, that would have been done before like the Captain Marvel movie came out. Because
we know it was because we know that she had not played that part or maybe even seen a script. When because she seems so not sure of what character she's playing in that movie,
and so it's like, I don't know, it's weird to me, like, your character is Captain Marvel, your brand is Marvel Studios, and like, it's been like one of those things where they've really kept her on the back burner and kept her away. And I to me, it's felt deliberate. And I was always kind of curious why. And it's like she is kind of like this figure, like kind of more of an idea, and she only pops in to say, "I gotta go, bye," and then leave. And I don't know, like
she's just a Deus Ex Machina. Well, and they're also some of it in like I think I can kind of sympathize with them a little bit, Connor, or I can appreciate where they're coming from. Some of it is we have this character that we want to adapt and not, change her power set and stuff too much. But she's just too damn powerful, so they end up with the Superman problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're afraid to have her be around too much. I mean, this team does have that problem. It's way too powerful. Like, you put those three characters together, what can't they do? I mean, like,
I mean, that's what I liked about the ending is they just, like, destroy the main villain in, like, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
They fight for, like, maybe a minute and a half.
That villain had no chance. When Miss Marvel says, "I like our odds," I laughed out loud. Like, imagine if it's Dragon Ball. If it's Dragon Ball, because remember, Dragon Ball is obsessed with power levels. And I'm not a big Dragon Ball guy, but I reviewed some Dragon Ball earlier this year, so I'm going to make a Dragon Ball reference.
Whoa,
Dragon Ball is obsessed with power levels. The Marvels all combined, their power level would be like 500,000 million. And She-Ronin's power level would be like 15.
Yeah.
I like our odds. Hell yeah, you do!
And doesn't, like, Ms. Marvel say something like, if it wasn't for, like, this, like, kind of entanglement we have, like, you would, like, destroy this, like, villain in, like, 2 seconds.
Yeah, she just comes out and says that, which is kind of fun because she's the fangirl, so she's like, if I'm writing this.
Yeah.
I thought she did a great job.
I wish she had more to do. There was a lot of her just kind of squealing and freaking out, which is like, about and fangirling, which is kind of the stuff that
which should annoy me, and it didn't. I'm surprised to say that.
It doesn't bother me, but like it is kind of the part of her character that I like the least.
Sure.
And so that.
But it's in character. It's what she do if that happened, and I like that.
It is.
I like that it's halfway through the movie when she apologizes to Karen for not thinking of her enough as a person. Mm-hmm. I might have expected that in like the last scene. Like she gets kind of mature about it.
Yeah, and I think the actress, that was one of those things about the show that really kind of got my attention. I'm like, oh, this, like, the concept of Ms. Marvel is one of those things where it's like, you gotta play that right, otherwise it comes off as very annoying and like self-insert kind of fan fiction. And some of the writing is that way, but she plays it a little bit better than that. There is still a little bit too much of the self-insert thing here and there. It's not She-Hulk bad, but how could you possibly be She-Hulk bad? No, but when I was watching the Ms. Marvel show, kind of right away, I was like, oh, like I'm really liking this character, and it is like a character where like 80% of it's on like the actress to sell it, and she really does. I like her a lot, and I'd like to see her in something outside the MCU. I want to see what she does. Marvel was all I hope she gets some parts, and I'm concerned about it because this movie is tanking so hard that it's going to really hurt her career. But everyone's responding to her positively though. She's the standout. That's true. So that might not affect her too much. Moving forward. I mean, I hope it doesn't affect the actress playing Monica Rambeau, because I think she's really good too. The thing is, the three of them feel like movie stars, or at least decent TV stars. And I just don't think that any of them are the problem when this movie has problems. And I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah. No, so I think it's weird, because like I think Teyonah Parris, who plays Monica Rambeau, I think she's a good actress. I don't know if it was her costume or her material, but like when she was on screen, like it felt like I was watching a TV show. Like something about like her line readings and like her performance, like it wasn't a bad performance, but it was weird. It's not a great script. I mean, it is. The thing is, the whole thing is kind of TV, but it looks better than TV. And so, like I haven't said this yet, and I had this thought in the theater, and I had it less as I was warming up to it. But
the premise, the fact that you introduced two of these three characters on TV. I don't know if you'll agree with this, given that you didn't care for the movie, but all things being equal, there's no way it looks this good on Disney Plus. But let's say the effects are adequate. Let's say they're on at least the level of WandaVision. This comes out as a special or as like a TV movie on Disney Plus. The audience reaction is different to it.
I don't know if it would be. Like you're saying, if they released it as is. Like,
yeah, I think people would like it more because I think we're comparing it. I think we're doing an apples to apples thing, which is totally fair, and we're going, this doesn't really belong on the big screen. The problem is that, how do I articulate this? The problem is that you have both, and they have struggled to decide what should go where. So they're taking movie premises and they're stretching them for 5-6 hours, and if they made them a good solid 2-hour movie like Hawkeye, more people would watch them.
Yeah, no, that is.
And now with something like this, they're taking something that's a TV premise, whether it's episodic, whether it's just a special thing, they're putting it on the big screen in a year where they haven't had any event movies. And we can argue about whether or not you should save the big screen stuff for events, but the fact that you're not putting everything in the theater makes it harder for you to get away with this many throwaway who gives a crap movies. They thought Quantumania was an event, but nobody gave a crap.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's the mistake, but they couldn't know that.
Lagging.
Oh, sorry. They couldn't have known that because they had to make this movie before they saw how Quantumania did.
No, you're right. Like, if in this era where we are putting so much to Disney Plus, just confused, like in premise and like two of the three characters. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you are lagging, and I lost pieces of that.
I was agreeing with you. Yeah.
I just think that if Disney Plus had never happened and they were still putting out 3 movies a year, we'd be in a different place right now.
I agree. I think Disney Plus has been one of the major contributors to my lack of interest in the MCU,
and
I think
everybody's.
And I think like because of that, like they're putting out. I think in 2021 they put out 9. Marvel Studios put out 9 projects, 8 of which were live action, and then the following year it was I think another like 7 or 8. Like there is too much like quantity. Like they cannot like, and I caught up completely with them. I feel like there was some catching like with Ant-Man, like some of their like troubles really caught up with them. To me, like this was even more so. Like I'm glad they only have 1 movie coming out next year, and like they're really gonna dial it back, because I think for me, after seeing this, that's what they really need.
It's maybe unfortunate for them, and hopefully the projects are good and people like them. But it's maybe unfortunate for them that they actually have any Disney Plus shows next year, because their only movie is Deadpool 3, and that won't feel, of course, as much like an MCU project, even if it has lots of references to MCU, because it's a rated R thing that will be just for adults. And we could look at it as a year without the MCU, pretty much. Now, they're doing Echo, and I don't remember what other Disney Plus shows are coming out. I don't know if I know like X-Men 97. But, like, that's kind of course, its own thing and not going to be as connected, if it's connected at all. So maybe their other things will even be enough off the beaten path that it won't feel like an MCU year, but it will still feel like some quantity because there's a number of projects that have the word Marvel on them. But it might still help them that they'll be so off the beaten path. If 2020... My point is, if 2024 can look like the year without MCU, and then they have, like, a banger release in 25, like the first thing they put out, whatever it is, gets a lot of critical acclaim and word of mouth spreads and people get excited, we could have like an Origins to First Class situation for the MCU.
Oh, that's a good point.
For the MCU at large. And it will also help that next year has almost no PG-13 superhero movies in it. Like, they're not putting out hardly any superhero movies for families and kids next year. So it will feel like the year that superheroes forgot. And the genre needs that right now. I need that right now.
Yeah. I'm really curious to know, like, so I feel like with Endgame, it was like that felt like a nice way for audiences to really show up for like superheroes, you know, for the last time in terms of superheroes as like the thing, as like the top of the food chain at movie theaters.
Yeah.
And because I kind of feel like after that, like they're still going to be popular. Obviously, there's still going to be like every studio is going to be cranking out all these superhero stuff, but like I feel like it was a nice way for audiences to kind of have that catharsis and then kind of stop caring as much. And so now with, I think, kind of the last 3 years, the way Marvel, I think, is kind of oversaturated and, you know, kind of led a lack of interest. Now, obviously, DC has been cranking out the Flash, so they've been doing their duties too in terms of making people lose interest. But I'm curious to know, like, next year, like especially this year with like something with how popular like Super Mario and Barbie and Oppenheimer and not superhero stuff have been. With next year, I'm really fascinated to know what's really going to catch on, because I feel like whatever the next thing at the top of the food chain is going to be, I think James Gunn's DC universe, like if it's amazing, will be a solid second thing on the totem pole below whatever's coming next. But
individual projects could still be huge banner things that have the potential to do $1 billion, because you just had No Way Home last year. Like,
that's true.
Like you still could have those standouts, but overall, you're absolutely right, and that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that Hollywood should stop making superhero movies. It does mean that they should split the costs in half.
Yes.
That's all we need to do, is just let's have this new like smaller, more subtle like Silver Age of superhero movies, where they're not for everybody, and we get really experimental, and we try a lot of different things, and we just throw little enough money at them that you can get away with a smaller return at the box office, and it'll be great for everybody, because regular moviegoers that have gotten burnt out on superhero movies won't feel like they're missing out on the current big thing if they don't go, and those of us that still want those kinds of things can get like challenging, thought-provoking stuff that's for different of us, and we won't feel the need to see all of it. That's what needs to happen. Like, we could have a really nice variety now.
I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Like it needs to not be the big be all end all thing that Hollywood feels the need to really dumb down and make real samey across the board, so that those of us that still love this stuff will have there could be a new renaissance with it, is what I'm saying.
I feel like there's like kind of a new renaissance just kind of in mainstream movies, kind of on like coming like very soon, honestly. I feel like the streaming era that we've kind of been in the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years is really starting to collapse. Because there's no money in it.
And
but also there's like,
and that can only be a good thing.
Yes. 100%. But like beyond that, it is just kind of like this kind of thing where I think with streaming, because every streamer just needs just a bunch of content to persuade people to show up, there's just too much stuff that people just, it's oversaturated. They just don't want to have any of it because they can't have all of it. And so I don't know, with like something like Dune, I think Dune 2 we're gonna see like a Spider-Verse 1 to 2 situation with the box office, not just because that first one was day and date, but because that first one was so popular. Like people really, really like it. And so I think the second one is going to be huge. But there's no Mission Impossible. There's no Fast and Furious. There's like barely any Marvel movies. There's like one R-rated DC movie. Like a lot of the stuff that has kind of defined the tentpoles of Hollywood the last like half, maybe full decade, there's just not coming out next year. And I'm actually really excited to see what
the industry will shrink, and I think, or at least the pot will be split amongst a larger group of smaller movies. And that can only be good for the art, and that can only be good for fans of this stuff that don't want to see the same thing over and over again and are tired of their intelligence being insulted. I was absolutely 100% wrong. Shocker, because I'm so good at predicting the future. During COVID, because I was one of I was one of the people online saying, yeah, I don't know if movie theaters can really bounce back from this. And don't get me wrong, I mean, like, movie theaters are still not making a ton of money or anything. But like, it seemed like the future at that point was streaming, and that you were going to get to a place where theaters were way, way more niche, and that most people just stayed home and watched stuff. And like, to some degree, that will continue to kind of be true, but what I mean is, I thought the money was in streaming, and what we didn't realize until COVID happened and all these companies felt the need to oversaturate the market even more than they were before, is that there's no money in it. I don't think in 2020 any of us realized just how little money there was in that model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like a model that worked as an accessory, like, kind of to the stream, like to the theatrical kind of model, because it's like, if you have, you know, Netflix courting respected filmmakers like Martin Scorsese or Noah Baumbach or Richard Linklater to, like, you know, fund their movies. I remember there was that kind of thing that came out that Netflix was like, we're done funding vanity projects. And
yeah, they're like, we want to spend too much money on movies, just like Hollywood is.
Yeah, and so it's like,
that's not gonna
work. I think as a result, they gave us The Gray Man, which was terrible. But like
Moonfall wasn't that Netflix?
No, okay, that actually went to theaters.
Did it really?
Okay, that movie.
I saw Red Letter Media's review on that, and it looks hilarious. I didn't watch it, but
Moonfall is exactly what you think when I say Roland Emmerich COVID production.
Yeah,
it is
sure.
exactly what you think. Like it's crazy.
Okay.
One of the cheapest looking things.
I'm going to announce the blind commentary on Moonfall right now.
No, dude, hey, hit me up. I might have to rent that.
We're going to do it. We're going to do the blind commentary on Moonfall.
I've seen it. No, I've seen it, so it'll be a half.
It'll be blind for me, though. I'll let you actually talk about it, and I'll just point and laugh. Maybe I'll love it. I don't know.
There's a lot of silly lines in that movie. One of which is, "Oh no, the moon is rising." It's pretty good. And
then we'll do a follow-up for After Earth. I haven't seen that either.
Ooh, I've never seen After Earth either. That would be a blind commentary.
John Kelling, $2 super chat. This movie should have been called Captain Squared Marvel Squared.
Captain to Marvel.
It could have been Marvel's Cubed.
Yeah, that's right.
There is a. I was actually reminded with this movie of Ultimate Squared. Did you ever read that?
No.
Ultimate Squared was a Captain Marvel-led book that I actually liked quite a bit. That was during Galactus's Life Giver phase, where he was orange, and instead of eating planets, he was basically the Genesis device from Star Trek 2, and he made dead planets alive. Huh. and like moons and stuff. But it was a cool and that whole thing was silly, but it was a cool book because it was like Captain Marvel led a think tank. And it was superheroes that had to solve all these problems with not with their fists but with their brains, and they had to basically do a lot of super science kinds of adventures where they had to basically put triangles into square pegs, and there were some really inventive stories in that. And it was after we got rid of the Ultimate Universe, so it was in 616, but it was a new team called the Ultimates. And I liked that stuff a lot. And some of the stuff Monica Rambeau had to do in this movie reminded me of Ultimate Squared.
Okay.
But that was like, that book came out just before I quit reading Current. So it was probably 2015, 2016. It was like right before or right after Secret Wars. But I cannot remember where that fell. But anyway, that was a cool book.
I'm surprised I'd never heard of that because I was still reading comics at that point.
Yeah, I don't know anybody else that read it, but I had to buy it because I was collecting Galactus at the time. Oh, and it had who was it? It had Molecule Man in it too. I've always been a big fan of Molecule Man. John Kelling, $10 super chat. Thank you. When Monica was on the other side of the tier in reality, the planet on the other side should have been a duplicate of Earth. Easy fix for the parallel universe comment. Don't know why it was random. What an excellent point. That's all they had to do. And then you'd know it because you'd be like, wait a minute, that's Earth. But it's not our Earth. Ooh.
Yeah, good point.
That's all they had to do.
Earth.
Yeah, because you're right. All you're looking at is, like, different planets and stuff. But that doesn't mean... There's nothing about it that screams alternate reality. You know? If it was like... If you were looking at fluidic space or something, you could probably guess it was an alternate reality, because you're not going to have that in our reality.
They should have opened up the rift, and it should have been Counter-Earth, because Counter-Earth is like my favorite location in the MCU now.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that too.
And people.
Once again, let me reiterate. I don't think Guardians 3 helped the critical reception of this movie at all. It is baffling that they let this come out right after that, because it's just Guardians Light. Like, I liked it okay, but it ain't like James Gunn's cosmic stuff. It's playing too much with that stuff on it's low rent Guardians, and you don't want that to be the very next thing that comes out. And also, they had 3 kind of, cosmic-y movies the same year, and that's all they put out. And I get that it's the multiverse saga or whatever, but you got to shake up your genres a little bit, your variety of tones a little bit, right? Like you do Quantum Verse, and you do a space epic, and then you do your goofy space comedy. That's a mistake.
And then on TV you have Loki, so there's a lot of like a time travel kind of outside of reality thing, and then you have Secret Invasion, which is the closest thing you have to like a terrestrial based kind of like down and gritty, but it still is shape-shifting aliens. So, and
it sucks.
Yeah, it's also the worst thing apparently that came out this year.
But I still say that, and again, armchair critic saying this in hindsight, I still say the multiverse saga should have never been a saga and simply a period of a lot of individual movies and possibly new franchises that they made in lieu of all of the interconnected stuff they were doing before. You do Endgame, and then you jump back with... And this is how you could get away with the oversaturation if the projects were good, or if enough of them were good. I'm saying this for folks that haven't heard me talk about this yet, and I don't know if you've heard this. All you had to do was go, we're gonna show you different universes that are technically in the same continuity because of the multiverse idea, but they're all these standalone stories. We can tell any kind of story we want to. So within the multiverse saga, you could go to some other Earth, to some other Earth, and do a real down-to-earth, gritty detective story that just doesn't affect your continuity here. You could do any kind of story you wanted to. That's what the multiverse should have been. They could have their cake and eat it too, and do the Elseworlds DC thing while still being in the MCU. That's all it had to be, and it could have worked. It could have been great. You could have done 25 projects.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been kind of cool where it's like, with Eternals, you don't have, like, you could have just, like, I mean, it does kind of feel like that. Like, Shang-Chi came out, like, however many years ago, and I don't feel like anything with the 10 Rings or any of that has really affected any other story. And with...
No, they touched it in She-Hulk for 5 minutes. That was about it.
Oh, did they? Oh!
There was something in that was about... Or that reminded me of Shang-Chi. I don't even know if it was, but I can't remember now.
Yeah.
We were talking over
Eternals, it. And then in Eternals, like, no one's talked about Eternals. I think except, like, Ms. Marvel referenced Kingo as, like, the actor.
And see, it didn't work because Marvel couldn't... I'm sorry, I'm rehashing some things I've said before, but Marvel couldn't communicate how much of this you needed to see to appreciate all the other projects. If they just didn't touch each other, and they were all really different and cool...
Yeah.
Then you could have gotten away with this much material after Endgame. I think, looking back at Endgame, that title is not going to age well. I hadn't had this thought until this conversation. I thought of this half an hour ago, and I'm glad it came back up because I wanted to say this. Endgame screams we had no plan after that. We're in the end game now. I mean, we're gonna keep making stuff, but
that's a good point. Yeah, I agree. Well, it is kind of funny because I wanted them to basically do what they ended up doing, which is just kind of telling more isolated stories, not worried so much about the interconnectivity. Which, you know, Thor: Love and Thunder doesn't have much to do with Shang-Chi, which doesn't have much to do with Multiverse of Madness, which doesn't have much to do with Eternals, which doesn't have much to do with the Spider-Man stuff. Like,
but if you don't watch those movies, you don't know that they're not interconnected, and you think you're being left out, and so you just lose interest, and you go, "Yeah, I'm done. I don't care."
Yeah, but the problem is I haven't really liked much of these.
Right.
I liked Eternals a lot. I'm like no one, unlike anyone else in the world. I'm like the biggest fan of Eternals, I guess. But
except for me and you. You know what you and I need to do? Sorry, I just thought of this great video. Would you indulge me for a minute?
Yeah, certainly.
I know this is going late. I don't care. I'm having a wonderful time talking with you about this.
Oh yeah, I like talking to you too, Ken.
Connor, we're planning on trying to get you back here again next year to be involved with the movie some, and if that works out, I'm making the Superhero Rewind movie, folks. The script is done. I just finished the second draft. We did a table read last week, and it went really well, and I'm really excited about it. And we shot that, so you guys will get to see bits of that down the road when we do special features. Anyway, Connor, I want to when you come here, what we should do is you and I will go to Ollie's outlet store. Do you know what that is?
No.
You ever been to an Ollie's? So Ollie's is this outlet store where they take crap that nobody bought in the first place and mark it way the hell down, and they have a very large toy section. And it's this way at every Ollie's around the country, and I know this because I've watched videos on it. I can't remember the channel, but there's a channel where a lot of his videos he goes to box stores, including these outlet stores, and he shows you all the crap that nobody bought because Disney can't make people watch their movies. A lot of it is him just dogging on Disney, right? And if you go to Ollie's, anytime in the last 3 years, because they haven't moved even there, so they're still there, there is like shelves and shelves and rows of Eternal stuff. And I think you and I should develop a budget and go there and build a complete collection of Eternals toy merchandise. Like, pick a line and go, Connor and I are going to be the joint proud owners of all 10 Eternals characters in some line.
Yes.
And we'll put them on display in Geekvolution headquarters, and we'll be like, we are proudly displaying our Eternals collection that cost us a total of like $15.
Yes. Let's do it.
We'll be able to get every damn character.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, hey, if I can get Druig, he's my guy. So
I like that movie. I can't name one character from that film anymore. I don't know, is there a guy named, it's not Isaac.
Icarus?
Icarus, there it is. Yeah, I could almost name that guy.
Yeah, there's Cersei and Icarus and Festus and Kingo, Makari, Athena. Yeah, I know my Eternals.
I have all the McDonald's toys from that movie.
Hey, those might be worth slightly more than the action figures.
Yeah, probably not though.
No, yeah. I'll spit up. I guess the point I was kind of trying to get at was.
Apologize. I'm sorry.
No. I'm glad you interrupted because that was a wonderful, wonderful idea. And
we have to do that.
We have to do it, and if we can get the ship to go with it, that would be even better.
I bet we can. Probably the only cheap Legos you can buy.
We could be the joint owners of a full line of Eternals. I love that. Okay. But
we'll sign them all like Andy from Toy Story.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like, you can get one foot, I can get the other foot. so it's like I'm kind of okay with them being a little segmented and like you don't necessarily have to watch everything. But then you get something like this movie where, spoiler alert, Kate Bishop's at the end and then like Valkyrie's in the middle of it. And because I've not liked a lot of these individual stories, the interconnectedness where they're now kind of starting to bring them and cross them all back over again, it just feels lame to me. Like the novelty has really worn off in that regard because I'm not. What I think they've done well, even to this day, what Marvel's done well is Sarah Holly Finn, their casting director, has been getting really interesting, good actors in these roles. And what these, especially the shows do, and even the movies, like with Shang-Chi did this in particular, where I like this actor, you're selling me on a character, and they put them in a story that doesn't do enough with them, and then I lose interest. So when you have Kate Bishop show up in this, like I haven't seen her in a couple of years. I kind of liked her in that Hawkeye thing, but I don't really care about how she interacts with Ms. Marvel. I don't really care about how like have Valkyrie and like Ms. Marvel, or sorry, Captain Marvel, even like shared a frame together that wasn't like the A-Force like tease in Endgame.
No,
like,
but I buy they know each other.
I do too.
I don't have a tough time with that. And earlier, forgive me, but I think you were a little bit disingenuous about that. Like, I don't give a crap about Valkyrie, but the idea that she's there for no reason at all, that's hyperbolic.
To me, it felt like we just like
you got to put the scroll somewhere. You have New Asgard. If they had a throwaway line where they said we're going to take them to New Asgard, you'd come back and be like, well, why didn't you just put Valkyrie there? I'm sure that actress isn't doing anything.
Maybe.
No? I'm just saying, how else would you have played that? It's awkward because I don't think the audience cares, is my thing. That's what was awkward about it to me. But I don't. Sorry, I'm just asking. I don't know. I just don't understand that complaint exactly of like, well, that cameo is there for no reason. Like maybe they should have actually taken them to New Asgard and shown it. I mean, maybe like I could see that complaint, but
I guess it felt a little bit like, okay, we made the situation for ourselves of we have scrolls. We got to dump the scrolls somewhere. Where do we go? I'll just take them to New Asgard. In like a I think a better script. Like the scrolls are a story element that come back in some kind of way. I
agree with you that it's awkward. And I would have probably conceptualized it differently, but her being there, I don't think is the problem. What I would have done is I would have just had Nick Fury call her up on a monitor, and I would have because you don't see
they go back to Earth, yeah.
You don't see the scene where because here's the thing. You're right. It's kind of easy to just be like, where do we have a place to put I guess New Asgard? But like, does Nick Fury have a relationship with New Asgard? We don't know that. So all we have to do is have him call her up and be like, hey, do you have room for these people? She's like, not really, but I guess we're I guess we take in refugees, so we'll go ahead and do that. Like, you probably wouldn't have thought it was too contrived to throw her in there if that was the way they did it.
No, okay, yeah, okay.
Maybe it's an execution problem. I don't know, because I thought it was awkward too. I just didn't have a problem with the choice. I bet some people
putting him to New Asgard. That's not a bad idea. Like, yeah, if we have a place that is like, displaced people, like that's what the Asgardians were at the end of Ragnarok. So when they come to Earth, like they want to be welcoming to people who are in a similar situation. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Like I get that. I think like the issue I have with like Valkyrie just kind of showing up is partially it does sort of feel like the movie is getting a little desperate and leaning on the novelty of, hey, Marvel crossover, huh? And
because it doesn't, because the story feels the story feels too inconsequential, so they're trying to make it look more important.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons. But also like the novelty, like I was saying with Kate Bishop kind of showing up at the end, is it's like I haven't cared enough about enough of these stories to really, the novelty is losing its luster. So like I don't get excited seeing Valkyrie show up to interact with Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I didn't care about that either. The Kate Bishop thing I was fine with, but that's partly like I'm gonna be selfish about this. It's because I've been wanting that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I really like specifically these new young female characters. Like those have been my favorite characters so far. These like 20-something female superheroes. The 3 of them so far have all been cool. You were talking about casting earlier. Marvel is still, for the most part, pretty good at casting, even when they have like no material or horrible material. But not always. They've gotten worse at it. Riri Williams is awful.
Yeah.
And I don't know that actress, not throwing shade at her, but just the performance in that movie, I didn't like it. I didn't buy her as a scientist for it. Or a cyberneticist or whatever for it. Not cyberneticist, but whatever you call Tony Stark. I didn't buy her for it. One iota of a second knowing how to do that job.
Yeah, it feels like she was cast for a different project and then thrown into a project that isn't really. Yeah, so her like.
You talk about a TV performance.
Yeah. When is Ironheart coming out, by the way? I thought that was coming out this year. I guess not.
I hope the answer to that is they've scrapped it now, but because I don't think that actress can carry a TV show by herself. But
Riri Williams built that show in a cave. Scraps.
Maybe we'll see her acting chops when she has to carry all of it on her shoulders.
Maybe. I don't know. You never know. But yeah, like Florence Pugh is like, Black Widow Jr. She's a great actress, so.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, put her on that team.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
Oh, but isn't she on Thunderbolts? Or is that Red Guardians on Thunderbolts?
Oh, maybe she's there too. I forgot about that whole thing. You think they'll scrap Thunderbolts now?
No, I think that's too far along. Like they have like Harrison Ford
so.
stunt cast and like.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think it's too far along. I don't know. Like I felt like that one was coming out like really soon, but I think it was supposed to come out like next November, and they got delayed it. So.
Do you think Sony will get all 3 of their movies out next year? Because that would make history, and I hope they do. I do.
That would be like the complete inverse of like a normal year where there's like 3 MCU movies and 1 Sony-verse movie.
It will be the greatest, most, again, counterintuitive and counterproductive year.
If I don't know if Venom 3 makes it.
It's still slated for November right now.
You know what? A lack of time has never stopped Sony before. So
I'm rooting for him. I hope it comes out.
I'm gonna hate every minute of it, but I hope it makes that release.
I really do, and I hope Well, anyway, let's get to these other super chats.
Yes,
I just want to keep talking. I was going to say, I hope Avi Arad comes out and starts acting like the new Kevin Feige, where like they own the year, so he just can't help himself but to constantly start like putting up videos. And like I hope Avi Arad starts a YouTube channel and like vlogs about it weekly.
He has like at the El Capitan Theater, he hosts like this big event where he's like, "All right, we got 10 new projects. We got I don't know, Cillian Murphy is gonna play the Lizard or something."
Yes, Cillian Murphy as the Lizard. When I was a child, my mother used to raise lizards.
And there's like, El Muerto is back in production.
One of them bit my arm off.
A lizard bit my arm off.
A lizard bit my arm off.
I have nightmares about lizards every night now.
The only answer
like the Captain Hook thing.
Ironically, the only answer to regrow my arm is to turn into one.
I must become the thing I hate most.
What was that about Captain Hook?
Yeah, you could do like a Captain Hook thing where like, an alligator bit his hand off, but like a...
We could write this.
Yeah, I think we could do it.
We could absolutely write this. I would have made a Spot joke, but they finally turned him into a really cool character in a movie, so...
Oh, that means they're going to make the Spot movie. They have to now, right? Because he was successful in animation. Bryan Cranston is the Spot. 2027.
Bryan Cranston as the Spot. Woodgrain Beanie, $2 super chat. Nick Fury has the funniest lines in the movie. I agree. I actually thought he was really fun, and maybe some of that also was just I hated him in Secret Invasion, and it was nice to see him get to just like chew scenery and not give a crap. That whole thing, and I'm just quoting when I say this. This will be swearing, but that bit where he was like, "Quit touching stuff," or "Quit touching shit." I thought that was really funny.
I actually thought the funniest line in the movie is where the one member of Kamala's family is like praying. He's like, "You praying?
You pray, amen."
And he's like, "No, keep doing it. We need all the help we can get." Amen. Like,
I wonder if his best
funny.
lines were improvised. I think that's possible.
It's probably So
Amen.
Like, what did you hate about Nick Fury and Secret Invasion? Because I haven't seen it. So, like, what's it like?
He's got nothing to work with, so he looks bored out of his mind, and like it just looks like Sam Jackson doesn't even know why he's there. It's exactly like it doesn't feel like he's playing that character. It feels like he's sleepwalking through it and just reading lines. And here's the difference. Nick Fury looks like he doesn't give a crap in this movie. Sam Jackson looks like he doesn't give a crap in Secret Invasion. And it feels exactly to me like watching Patrick Stewart and Picard. It's like exactly the same thing. And it also doesn't help that they're both 80-something-year-old men having to do action shows that they're just not physically in the right condition to do. Okay. That didn't help either. Keep running up the stairs, Patrick Stewart. Just run up those stairs.
I've seen that clip.
Just beat that guy in the head with a thing that you're too old to lift. Dubby, $4.99 super chat. So disappointed to see Beast recast from Ben Affleck to Graham Cracker. What does that mean? What is Marvel doing?
Grammer?
Living by night? What?
So it's Kelsey Grammer. Is that Graham Cracker?
Well, what does Beast have to do with Ben Affleck?
I think it's just the super chatter who always references Ben Affleck and Live by Night in like every single one of these. Like,
I didn't even notice he was doing that. I mean, thanks for the super chat, W. I didn't even get the joke.
I remember. I think this is the same person when we were talking about the Flash. They asked, "Do you think with Ben Affleck's involvement, this should have been called The Flash Live by Night?"
Okay. I'm sorry. Right over my head.
yeah.
Right over my head. That's another thing where the novelty is worn off, and I'm sad to say that because in this particular case, like Monica seeing her mom was again too easy. Now that is kind of a comic book trope. I mean, to be fair, that's the kind of thing we do all the time with comics.
Yeah.
You seem to be cosmically tethered to people that are related to you wherever you go.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, certainly.
But I didn't mind the Beast thing either. We've done that kind of thing so many times now, and you just did a movie where you crossed over characters from different movie universes where like the novelty's kind of gone, and it doesn't mean anything is the problem. Where like if I thought that you were doing that to set up, we're bringing back the Fox X-Men movies in some way, or whatever, I don't know if I would be excited, but it would at least tell me something. I would have feelings about that. But it doesn't really mean anything. It's just like it's not impressive. We know. I mean, it's cool that you got Kelsey Grammer to do it, I guess, but it's not impressive in a story way where it's like, well, we know you have access to those characters. It's not real, clever or anything. But yeah. I don't hate it. It was fun to see him. It was fun that she went somewhere recognizable. I mean, I will say, and call me a fanboy, but whenever you open up to another universe like that, the first thing I think of is where are we going? Well, I'm glad we got to see where it was going, and it wasn't. And the after credits wasn't, here's this random character I've never seen before, like the off-screen Blade thing in Shang-Chi, where I'm like, I needed somebody to tell me that was supposed to be Blade. I didn't know what the hell we were talking about.
That was really funny, because I was in the theater, and like everyone was just kind of looking around. Like people like started talking to other announcing to the theater. They're like, does anybody know who that was? I was like,
yeah.
No, I don't. And then people were like, it kind of sounded like Mahershala Ali. oh yeah, he plays Blade, right? Yeah. And then there's like some silence, and I shouted, so did anyone look that up, or like we were all wondering like what was going on.
I thought the Kate Bishop thing was more awkward because I just knew that out of the crowd of 9 people that I was watching that movie with, most of them probably didn't know who that was.
Oh yeah. It was weird because I went to go see a 3.5 hour long movie yesterday that has made less money than the Marvels, and it was like full of people compared to my screening of the Marvels, which had like nobody. But no, to be fair, like that movie that I saw, Killers of the Flower Moon, like that's been out for longer, so it's playing in fewer theaters for like 1 showtime a day. So like, obviously that's gonna bring in like more people per screening, but it was like surreal to like.
I saw this great. That is kind of surreal, and it's probably like actually successful because it probably was made on a really small budget.
Actually, no. That was Scorsese somehow convinced Apple to give him $200 million to make that movie. But it's an Apple. It was going to go straight to their Apple streaming service, but it got a theatrical release, so they're shoring up some of the cost there. So
okay. Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay, well at least they didn't pull a Zaslav and try to write it off for tax purposes.
Yeah.
I saw, and I'm not making fun of anybody or throwing shade when I say this. I thought this was a great comment. Somebody, we had I won't say who it is because I don't remember who it is, but we had a viewer who left a comment when I announced this today in the community tab. And he was like, I've seen the Marvels 3 times in the theater. And there was a long thread where people were going back and forth. Like, one person was like, why on earth would you go that many times? And somebody else was like, well, maybe he liked it. Like, they were arguing, you know, back and forth. And then somebody left this brilliant comment. Whether you hate this movie or like this movie, this is a wonderful comment. The guy said something along the lines of, maybe he wanted a private screening. I thought that was so good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Or it was like, it's the closest he's going to get to a private screening. I was yeah. We had pretty close to a private screening the first time I saw it. There were more people in the theater I went to today. Not by a lot. I'm going to check and see if we have any more super chats, and then we're going to... I think that's the last one. Let me make sure that we're not missing anything. Connor, did you think this would go 3 hours?
No.
We talked about lots of other things.
I'm glad you liked it. Like, I mean, we're now going to have shared custody of an Eternals line of action figures. Like, what a productive 3 hours it was. I liked hearing you talk about how much you at least enjoyed the movie. I like getting that.
I mean, can we still be friends? I don't know. It probably doesn't make any sense that I like this movie, but I did.
Yeah, but that's... I like these kinds of conversations. I like hearing people's perspectives on that kind of stuff. Like it's interesting to me. So I like being here to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 is enough. I don't think I need 3 even for a private screening, but all right, we're gonna get going. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Sorry I didn't get to a ton of pre-written questions, but we had Connor and I went off on tangents like we sometimes do, and I wasn't looking at the comments as often, so that's on me. But because if we went a little bit shorter, I would scroll up and look at a lot more comments. But we're right at 3 hours, and I think that's probably as long as this one ought to be, Connor.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. One last.
We've doubled the runtime of the film, which I'm proud of.
Yeah. Speaking of double the runtime, when I went to go see Killers of the Flower Moon, that is a 3.5 hour long film. So you can fit 2 The Marvels in the time that it takes to watch one Killers of the Flower Moon. And it just happens that the auditorium I was watching Killers of the Flower Moon in was right next door to an auditorium showing The Marvels. Killers of the Flower Moon is a very quiet movie. The Marvels is a very loud movie. So I got to hear the same scene from The Marvels twice while I was watching Killers of the Flower Moon.
That's hilarious!
I was snickering to myself. And so you have Leonardo DiCaprio was kind of like... And in the distance you can hear...
Oh, I'm glad that you just did that with your hands, because there was one more complaint I wanted to throw at this, which is I don't know if you were paying any attention to what this movie sounds like, and I would totally understand if you didn't, but I don't know if they used the same thing they did for Captain Marvel, because I can't remember what her heroic fanfare is, but it's the one they used in this is so close to the Spider-Man one with MCU that I got that song in my head while watching the film. It's so close.
You kept expecting Spider-Man to like thwip in
Yeah.
and save the day.
How is it that derivative of that?
I don't know. I mean, after a while, you can only put in so many upbeat, peppy fanfares together. They're gonna start sounding the same.
Yeah, that by itself might be enough to tell you that you need to take some time off, because you can't even hiring a lot of different composers, you can't come up with enough different fanfares.
Yeah.
Don't you think it also says something about where how people have lost interest in just where Marvel is right now, that the short runtime didn't help them at all?
Yeah.
Like, when you have a real short runtime like that, it helps you sell more tickets, and theaters couldn't take advantage of that. They didn't need to sell more tickets. They could open it once a day and not fill the theater. That's maybe hyperbolic, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Very curious to see what the actuals are tomorrow afternoon. If they just continue to plummet, and because it's 78% drop from last week.
Yeah, and word of mouth isn't going to help it, because it's also one of the lower rated films too. I mean, it's not. It's at like 58 or something on Rotten Tomatoes, if that means anything at all. And I don't know where the fresh thing is in the meter, because I could not care less about that. But it's probably not their lowest rated movie. Maybe it is.
No, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Eternals are tied for lowest.
One of those is just objectively better than the other, though.
Look, I stopped caring about Rotten Tomatoes so long ago, so whenever I see something pop up like that, I'm like, huh, interesting.
Wood Grain Beanie, do we believe you? It just so happens that Miss Marvel's actor was there at my screening. That's really cool, if that's true.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Crazy.
Iman Vellani seems like a cool lady, so good for her.
She does. She's getting some flack right now. I read about this for complaining about about the fans themselves with how poorly this movie is doing. You gotta. That's a rookie mistake. You gotta not talk about it. You gotta not respond to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of one of those things where
you
can have.
And I didn't read exactly what she said, but whatever you say, you're gonna come off to people like you're going, like you're entitled, and you're saying you're supposed to see whatever we make because it's Marvel, so of course it's good. You cannot do that.
And you can't just probably as an actor, it's probably not a good look to throw the other cast members and crew and the people employing you under the bus. That's probably not a good look. So just don't say anything.
Well, and it's hard if it's in response to an interview question or something, but I'm not sure what the context was. I didn't look real deep into that, to be fair. Maybe I shouldn't have even brought this up because I honestly don't know enough.
I think I saw the headline and she
was it
said
Twitter?
Something. I don't know.
Because don't respond to negative criticism on Twitter, and if you're X or whatever, and if you're an actor, don't have a Twitter. I firmly believe that. Don't have one. Stop it.
It was funny. You accidentally misspoke and you said titter, and then you said X, and I think those go hand in hand. Having one of those. It's I've never had one. I will never have one. It just seems like. It seems like this presence, this force in society that has only ever been bad, and it's people still use it. I don't know why.
Holly says if you read the actual quote, she said it was a quite reasonable response. I shouldn't have brought that up because I don't actually know what she said. I just remember seeing a headline about that.
Well, and that's the other thing though. You can have the most reasonable response. It will be spun.
That's
to,
the
like,
thing,
hurt
yeah.
you, no matter what. And,
I
that's
clearly
what's
saw it
about
spun. I don't know what she actually said. So yeah. No apologies. That wasn't fair. I shouldn't have brought that up. Wood Grain Beanie, $2 super chat. True, the director and composer were there too. How'd you get that kind of lucky? Were you do you live in California? I just wonder where you were. It wasn't the premiere of the film.
Yeah, maybe they were all just hanging out in New Jersey for whatever reason.
Holy, she doesn't have a Twitter actually or any social media presence. Woodgrain Beanie, she is on Reddit, but only secretly. Okay, so she's being real mature about it. That's what you should do if you are a celebrity of any clout at all. Like if I don't know, I'm soapboxing, but if you want to keep a good reputation as a just generically as a public person, don't do that. Don't talk about your politics either.
Yeah, it was interesting. I know like Margot Robbie was like discovered to have had a Letterboxd account.
Oh,
She seemed to only have used it for like professional purposes. So it's like a little over a year ago, like there was a thing called like, or like maybe it was 2 years ago now, but it was like Babylon Watch List. And it was like all the movies that she was in Damien Chazelle's Babylon. And so it was like all of these movies that like she had to watch in preparation for that movie. And then it was like Barbie watch list. And like people were like combing through this account and they're like, is this Margot Robbie's account? And then like suddenly surprisingly got deactivated like very shortly thereafter. So
yeah, it's interesting.
It would probably suck to be a celebrity and like just want to use just general apps that are social media platforms.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't want that. I have exactly the level of quote unquote fame that I would ever want to have, and even sometimes even though I don't like to be even as public as I am, and I'm not that public. Holy says, she said, I don't want to focus on something that's not even in my control. He's quoting, because what's the point? She told Yahoo Entertainment that's for Bob Iger. I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the thing that was somehow spun into the audience is the problem. I gotta look into that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way to respond that though. And then holy, the box office has nothing to do with me. I'm happy with the finished product and the people that I care about enjoyed the film. I mean, that really mature and level-headed. Yeah, that is professional as all hell.
Yeah, no, good for her.
Good for her. That's
the right response. Yeah.
Well, and people like her. I mean, talking about the pressure that you have being public, people like her need to set a good example for their generation. You know, when you're like when you're that young, and it's like it's really hard to be really famous and young. Particularly in the social media generation, where a lot of her peers will not know how to handle that kind of pressure. Somebody's got to teach you how to set the right example.
Yeah, well, and I think like we're now like a full generation into like the social mediaification of just culture, because people like a little older than me were like the first wave of like young people to adopt MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and I was really slow to even get a Facebook.
Same
but
here.
It is kind of interesting seeing how like
I was already out of college when that got popular. I mean, like when I was in college, it was still only for college kids.
Yeah, so it's just kind of interesting, like how maybe young people will like just be. They will maybe use the internet or like use social media communication just as like in a much more responsible way now that it's just so ingrained in the way people communicate and live. I don't know. Hopefully it's better, because my generation sucks with it, or at least we have sucked with it in the past. I feel like most people I know who are my age just got off of social media and looked back.
But the kids growing up with it, where it's always been there, it might not even occur to a lot of them that they could live another way. It certainly doesn't occur to them that they could live without a cell phone, and I don't know if you could exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how you do. Like, how do you like become like a manager, like a firm without a cell phone? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, we've been talking for a long time.
We have. Connor is really ready to leave. He's done with the sound of my voice. Well, everybody, thanks a lot for being here. We sure appreciate you. He didn't deny that either. And we had a lot of fun talking with you. I hope you had fun listening to it. Thanks for being here live or after the fact. I will be back soon with more stuff here this week. Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we won't have a Captain Logan show this week, but we'll do at least a couple of other things for you. I'll announce things soon. Friday night, if all goes according to plan still, we're going to do the Superhero Rewind commentary on Blade. Speaking of Blade, and it's really the only thing to announce right now, I think. So thanks for watching, guys. And Connor, thanks for spending so much time with me, man. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like, this was honestly a way more fun stream than I expected it to be, because I was low-key dreading it, not gonna lie.
I was excited to see the look on your face when I flipped green. I couldn't wait.
My jaw was hung open. I was like, I thought you were joking for a minute, to be perfectly honest.
I didn't know how to spin that in such a way where you wouldn't think he is yanking my chain right now.
You started talking, having like reasons, and I'm like,
what?
I think he's being honest.
You checked your calendar to see if it was April 1st. He's like, no, it's still middle of November. I don't know what's happening right now.
Is November 19th secretly April Fool's in like Japan or something? Like, is he like using some knowledge on me?
Yeah, it's Canadian April Fool's, and I don't have Austin here, but I feel like I can adopt it because I spent enough time with him.
Every day is April Fool's Day for Austin.
That is true. Yeah. There's no denying that. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Once again, I was Captain Logan. This was Connor Nielsen. Really appreciate you. And Jayson says goodbye as well. See you later, folks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.